Every year, hundreds of thousands of car engines wear out prematurely. And every year, a contributory cause can be the choice of oil. Esso Superlube Plus helps keep an engine running smoothly through thick and thin, constantly protecting the engine against the final day of reckoning. Esso Superlube Plus. No other oil does more to keep your engine running the way it should.
The lasting memory of the British Touring Car Championship 1988 was Rouse against Soper. Whether it was Brands, Silverstone, Thruxton or here at Donington, the battles were epic, with Rouse emerging victorious, but not as champion. That title went to Frank Sittner and the ProDrive team, beaten only once in the BMW in Class B. 1989 in the Esso British Touring Car Championship promises to be the best ever, and nervous fingers hit the starter buttons. Alton Park, round one. Especially tense, Andy Rouse, the great engineer driver, despite confidently placing his Ford Sierra RS 500 on pole position, he knows that behind him, no Steve Soper, but a packed Class A entry, this season better prepared to present a really strong challenge. There's Rob Gravett alongside him, with an engine prepared by the Australian touring car master Dick Johnson. There's Chris Hodgetts, the former champion, on road 2, who showed he was close to matching Rouse's pace at the end of last season. There's big money backing and a Rouse-prepared car for the experienced Tim Harvey. And heading Class B, Britain's James Weaver, a proven race winner on both sides of the Atlantic. In all, 32 starters, but the spectacle and the glory this season is in Class A. No less than 17 Ford Sierras, but does anyone have a car to match Rouse, who qualified almost a second and a half quicker than Rob Gravett? Further down the grid, Mike Smith, making his return to racing, is on the 6th row. James Weaver in the BMW on the 7th row, ahead of Frank Sittner. The target for Rouse, realistically, Class A success, because remember, a win in any of the lower, less competitive classes carries an equal number of overall championship points.
There's one or two fairly weak classes there where one particular driver is going to have a fairly easy time to pick up easy points, whereas I'm going to have to work very hard to gain those points. So we're not too optimistic about the championship, but we are optimistic about a really good season's racing.
Rob Gravett alongside Rouse is part of the new Trackstar team, which he's set up with Mike Smith. Mike just happy to be back for his first race since his helicopter crash, but what kind of physical problem will he face?
Stamina is the problem. I've not had any chance to do any aerobic exercise, which I'm told I should have done. But you can't, you know, if your ankle won't move, you can't do it. It's going to take until early summer. I'm walking without a limp. And I'm gradually getting back into things, 2 hours physiotherapy a day. I'll be fit, I'll be fine, you know, my head's in the right place.
Before we join Murray Walker, a word about the other change for the new season. It's a rolling start, the field building up pace for an explosion of power across the start line. For the champion Frank Sittner in the body of the pack, that's not a great prospect.
I must say, I question whether it's a good idea here at Alton Park, because Old Hall comes up very quickly indeed. Instead of arriving at Old Hall at about 60 or 70 miles an hour, we'll be arriving at Old Hall at about 120 miles an hour. So we'll see what happens. I don't know, reserve judgment on that.
Well, we soon will see, because now they're on their way to the first rolling start of the Esso British Touring Car Championship. Over the line, away they go into Old Hall Corner, and it's Andy Rouse leading, Gravett in second position, Chris Hodgetts and Harvey is in fourth place. Now we're in car with Mike Smith in the Ford Sierra Cosworth, straight into the back of Graham Good's Sierra. That's a real thump, and that's the rear bumper missing off Good's car as two string through ahead of Mike Smith. Onto Cascades, the left-hander. Up towards Lakeside and onto the hairpin at Shell, and at Shell, second gear, 50 miles an hour they go into that. Rouse is leading, Hodgetts is in third position, Gravett is sandwiched in between them. Out of Shell, Tim Harvey is in fourth place, Guy Edwards is in fifth, there is Newman in sixth position. and Graham Good is already retiring from the first race of the year. So, Clay Hill now, 5th gear, 130 miles an hour. Rouse, Gravett, Hodgetts, Harvey, there's very little in it. Up towards Druids, a very tight right-hander, 3rd gear, 80 miles an hour. There's Rouse, Gravett, Hodgetts, and Harvey in the blue Sierra is starting to close on Chris Hodgetts in the red one. On to Lodge. 2nd gear, 60 miles an hour. 2,000 horsepower from the first 4 Ford Sierra Cosworths. Into Deer Leap, 4th gear, 120 miles an hour. Rouse, Gravett, Hodgetts, Harvey. And at the end of the lap, they're doing 135 miles an hour into Old Hall. There's Harvey. Down to Cascades, Gravett in 2nd place, Hodgetts in 3rd position, Harvey still holding 4th place. And away they go, and in car with Jerry Marnie now, taking 7th place from the Dutchman Gerrit van Kouwen, and Gerrit's running on unleaded fuel, by the way. Shell corner, Jerry Marnie, 7th place, Van Kouwen behind him, 8th, Jones, 9th. Mike Smith and then the 2 BMWs, and now we're in car with Frank Sidner, the 1988 British champion. Ahead of him, his ebullient teammate James Weaver, through the Thruxton chicane, 60 miles an hour. And a grim-looking Graham Good stomps down the pit lane, no doubt to complain. So let's look at it again from Mike Smith's point of view. He approaches the start line in grid order. The first corner, Old Hall, ahead of him now, the right-hander. Closing up on Graham Good's black Ford Sierra Cosworth as they tuck into the apex. Zap! Straight into the back. And there's going to be ructions about that. Graham is not at all happy.
Graham, what went wrong? I'll tell you what happened. Mike bloody Smith just gave me such a bang up the rear. I can't believe it. That's the second time he's done it. I just can't believe it. The first corner, there was a Labatt's car in front. Admittedly, he was going a bit rather slowly, but even so, Mike just gave me such a smack up the arse. I couldn't believe it. And he broke all the rear suspension.
Well, infuriating for poor Graham, but I'd call it a racing accident. And in the midfield, Clark, Hall and James Kay, all in BMW M3s, fighting for 3rd place in their class. Whilst ahead of them in the 2 white BMWs at Old Hall, sports car ace James Weaver still leads British champion Frank Sidner. It looks like Frank's got his hands full. Down to Cascades at 130 miles an hour. Weaver ahead of him. And ahead of Weaver is Carl Jones. And meantime, number 56, John Cleland's Vauxhall Astra is leading Class C. And to nobody's surprise, it's number 70, Phil Dowsett's Toyota, leading Class D. More about them later. Lodge corner, and still the imperturbable Andy Rouse leads. But he's getting no peace at all from Rob Gravett and Chris Hodgetts. 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Out of Deer Leap at 120 miles an hour. Over the start line at 135 miles an hour. Rouse drifts wide at 85 at Old Hall corner, then Gravett, then Hodgetts. And it's really interesting up front with number 21, Rob Gravett Sierra, built by Australian champion Dick Johnson in Queensland for Gravett and Mike Smith's brand new Trackstar team. In car with Mike Smith. Carl Jones ahead in 9th place, and he goes off. Carl Jones goes off, buck all over Mike's windscreen. Watch the air pressure clearing it off. Get the wipers on. Into Cascades, there's Mike, Sean Walker, Carl Jones, and Weaver and Sidner, 12th and 13th in the BMWs and gaining. And now in car with a new slimline Jerry Marnie, 2nd in the British Championship in 1988. Goes past 5th place Mike Newman, does he? Yes, he does. Goes through on the inside. Jerry Marnie goes up to 5th. And that battered Sierra's Mike Smith's. Down to Lodge corner, Marnie, then Newman, then the Dutchman, Gerrit van Kouwen, back to saloon car racing, in car with Jerry Marnie, up to 4th, 120 miles an hour, 5th gear, 130 miles an hour over the line. line, and Jerry Marnie is pulling away. And now Carl Jones is cramming on the speed. Look at him, number 28 going through inside Mike Smith. Down to Cascades. And Sean Walker's attacking on the right. He goes through. I suspect that Mike Smith is getting tired. He is still recovering from that very bad helicopter crash he had last year. And James Weaver is right up with Smith. Number 21, Rob Gravett, approaching Shell. Second, look for Rouse in front of him. There he is. There's Gravett. Third is Chris Hodgetts in the red car. And the blue Sierra's Lawrence Bristow back after a stop. So now, up Clay Hill, into Druids. Number 1, Andy Rouse, lapping the BMW, leads. Rob Gravett in second position. And it is beginning to look like Andy Rouse's race. He dominated things last year, and he's doing it again. Into Lodge. Dear lead. Drift wide. Change up. Over the line, another lap completed. Andy is easing away. Old Hall corner. Gravett second, Hodgetts third. Bristow behind has been lapped. It's looking like 1988 again. Andy Rouse there won 9 out of 12 rounds last year. He's leading by 2 seconds. Not much, but it's enough. And back at Lodge, it's Newman, Van Cowen, Jones, Walker, Smith, Weaver. There's Weaver in the background behind Mike Smith. Weaver chasing Mike Smith, Ford Sierra hard. And that is Carl Jones, number 28 at Old Hall corner. Squeal of tyres, he's off. Carl Jones pirouettes across the grass in the Ford. He's going to be perfectly okay, but he's lost his placing. And now Frank Sidner is fighting Graham Hathaway in the yellow Ford Sierra for 13th place. Hathaway goes through on the inside. Sidner takes it back. No, he doesn't. Down to Cascades. That's ex-Rallycross British champion Graham Hathaway pitting 500 Cosworth horsepower against 320 Munich horses. And Frank's right up his boot lid. Nicker Brook, 130 miles an hour. Andy Rouse leads. Gravett second. Andy Rouse is in a beautifully smooth groove. There's Hathaway and Sidner fighting it out behind. And gritty British champion Frank Sidner goes into Fulstons, but well behind James Weaver's class-leading BMW. Now you see why they're so good. Hathaway, Sidner, absolutely on the ragged edge. And there's Robin Donovan's Ford Sierra Cosworth, sandwiched between 2 BMWs. Being close, he's going to be taken. No, he's not. Turbo's blown. Robin Donovan's turbo blows. And into the pits comes Carl Jones. So, turbo problems for Donovan. Turbo problems for Carl Jones. But there is no turbo problem for Rob Gravett. Look at him. He has closed right up on race leader Andy Rouse. They go through first and second to complete another lap, and lights ablaze. Chris Hodgetts is hanging on to third. 2 ex-British champions sandwiching Rob Gravett in second position. Down to Cascades. Rouse. Gravett. Out of the left-hander, they line it up for Shell by way of Island Bend. There's a couple of tail-enders ahead of them. Are they going to get in the way? There goes Chris Hodgetts. Here is Gravett, almost attached to Rouse's Sierra. And what a debut for the Trackstar team. Nicker Brook, lapping 1. Lapping 2. Andy Rouse being forced every inch of the way by Rob Gravett. Gravett with a lot less experience, but he's giving Rouse a very hard time as Andy comes up to Druids at 80 miles an hour. Tucks in tight, lets it drift out, and he's off! Andy Rouse goes off, straight into the tyre wall. That's a very big thump, but the door opens. Out gets Andy, thank heavens he's okay. But why? A mistake, a tyre problem, something broke, oil on the track, who knows? But whatever, Andy Rouse is out. Look at it again. He just suddenly changes direction for no apparent reason at all, and that is a mystery. Now, here is Andy's view. There's a problem with the camera, but you can see out of Knickerbrook at 130 miles an hour. Change gear. Change again. And again. Turn right. And off. Lost it on the grass. No friction there. Straight into the tyre wall. Well, Andy's got every reason to look dejected, but that tyre barrier worked and he's okay. While in the pits, a worried team are looking for the boss. Well, they won't see him, because now Rob Gravett leads. There he is, his first race for the new Mike Smith Rob Gravett Trackstar team. And in the other Trackstar Sierra, Mike Smith's tiring. He's being passed by the very impressive James Weaver's BMW. So James is now 9th class leader and a new class lap record holder. And keeping ahead of Mike Smith in spite of the fact that he's got 180 horsepower less. Number 10, Guy Edwards, is third now in the second Rouse team car behind Gravett and Hodgetts. Battling it out with the fourth place man, number 7, Tim Harvey. There he is. On to Knickerbrook. Edwards in third position, Harvey in fourth place. Up to Druids, and Guy Edwards is in his 24th year of racing. Formula One, twice winner of Alton's Gold Cup, and he's the man who pulled Niki Lauda out of that blazing Ferrari in 1976. And he got a Queen's Gallantry Medal for that. Tim Harvey behind him, his 9th year of racing. Karts, Formula Ford, sports, saloons, he's driven them all, and he's in fourth position here. 17 Ford Sierra turbocharged Cosworth cars started this race, and they are really dominating things at the front and, of course, in Class A. And number 21, Rob Gravett, hasn't got far to go now. If he can hang on, it's going to be a great win for him ahead of Chris Hodgetts and Guy Edwards. But Guy Edwards is touring. There's Guy. He's blown the engine. See the smoke pouring from the back, pulling off the course, out of the race. This is not the Rouse team's day. And it's not Chris Hodgetts' day either, after all. He's limping. Slowed right down. He's got a right front puncture. And that's Mike O'Brien coming up to pass him. Mike's well down the field, though. So Chris Hodgetts trying to get back to the pits to change that front wheel and tyre. On, slowly onwards goes Chris Hodgetts, and Mike O'Brien loses it. And drive assured, it says on the side. Well, Mike O'Brien regains the course. And it's going to be 32-year-old Rob Gravett's race, all the way from Australia for his Sierra, and victory first time out. A superb achievement. Well done, Rob. And there is James Weaver winning Class B in the white BMW M3. Maximum points in his class. And as Weaver tours in, an exhausted Mike Smith in the second Trackstar Sierra just beats the rejoined Chris Hodgetts to 7th place. Mike Smith comes in, demonstrating the massive dent where he hit Graham Good. But he's finished the race. And there it is. Turbocharged Ford Sierra Cosworth 1st to 5th. Weaver's 2.3-litre non-turbo BMW 6th. And a very happy Rob Gravett.
First time out, and the boys, they've worked so hard the last 2 weeks. They've only just arrived, these cars from Australia. They've been working 48 hours in a row, no bed. Amazing, I'm really pleased for them. What can I say?
Great effort from Gravett, but class winners like John Cleland in Class C get the same championship points. Cleland gave a very impressive debut to the Vauxhall Dealer Sport 16-valve Astra GTE. Never headed in the class, he set a new lap record, and the Scotsman is already most people's tip for the overall championship title. Class D victory went to Jeff Kimber-Smith in his Toyota Corolla GT. But that was only after the demise of Phil Dowsett, the man who dominated the class last season and came close to winning the championship himself. Dowsett, struggling for finance and a late entry in his Toyota, was leading the class very comfortably when he was forced out with a broken drive peg. Even then, Kimber-Smith only just managed to take the points, forcing his car over the line on the starter motor after suffering a fuel problem on the very last bend. So drama among the lower classes, but not exactly the high drama that already leaves the quickest man in the field off the pace in the championship contest. So the full result of the opening round and post-race analysis put Rouse's problem down to a broken steering rack. Second round at Silverstone, and his effort is in better shape. After claiming pole position, he's leading Gravett as we join the race midway through the second lap.
Up to Chapel, building up to 150 miles an hour as they approach Stowe Corner. And it's 4 times British champion Andy Rouse leading Rob Gravett in the Australian-built Sierra, and now this is Rob Gravett's car. 32 years old, Rob Gravett from Maidenhead, the winner and the lap record holder at Alton, chasing Andy Rouse. Towards Abbey. Now we're in car with the race leader, Andy Rouse. Rob Gravett looming up behind him. Up to Bridge. Watch it go down through the gears into the left-hander. And the gap between Andy Rouse in first place and Graham Good in 5th position is a mere 4 seconds. In car with Rob Gravett through the chicane, 100 miles an hour. Down the start and finish straight, up towards Copse. Lap 3 is 1/5 distance. Here come the leaders. Rouse, Gravett, the Labatt twins, Harvey and Bristow. There they go. Graham Good in 5th position. Dave Brodie well up. Now to Beckett's again, the slowest corner on the course, but it's still very, very quick, tight into the apex. Rob Gravett is closing up on Andy Rouse's Sierra. Out wide into Chapel, cut across, down the hanger straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars burst out of Chapel curve, and 6 seconds cover the top 7 as the leaders, Rouse and Gravett, go into Stowe. And now we're in car with James Weaver. This is the battle for the B-class leadership. And Weaver has just taken it from Frank Sittner, who goes through and retakes it. 320 horsepower, 2.3-litre BMW M3s. And up front, the 1988 champion from Nottingham, Frank Sittner. Round the right-hander, Sittner ahead, then it's Weaver, then it is Godfrey Hall. Second in the class in 1988, and James Weaver is really harrying Sittner. Sittner can see the BMW in his mirror. Weaver coming up on the left as they approach the left-hander at Bridge. And Weaver is through. Weaver is leading Class B. Into the left, into the right. Accelerating away up towards the chicane. And there are the 3 Class B leaders. First is Weaver, second is Sittner, and third in the black M3 is Godfrey Hall. Up to Copse. Sittner comes out from the slipstream of Weaver, he goes through on the inside. Frank Sittner retakes the class lead. Down to second place goes Weaver. And Sittner seems to be going just as well without a spoiler. And the 3 BMWs are catching Borner-Bush's Sierra in front. Absolutely together. This is heroic stuff. 960 horsepower there. Into Chapel again. Down the hanger straight again. BMW Finance, it says there. They're going to need some of that for Frank's new spoiler. And and Weaver takes Sittner. No, he doesn't. Sittner's got the inside line down to Stowe. Weaver's going to have to go wide. Sittner keeps in tight and keeps the class lead. So it's still, and there's somebody off. That's John Clark out. And he's obviously hit something, and he's obviously very unhappy. Now we're in car with Jerry Marney, 11th place. 3 Sierras ahead. Jones, Smith and Van Cowen. And Jones spins. Carl Jones spins, he's stationary, and the BMW battle is approaching, and this is it. Sittner goes ahead of Weaver, and Jones rejoins right in front of the BMW. Sittner comes out of the corner first, then Weaver behind him. Jones has fallen into place between Weaver and Godfrey Hall. Out of the complex, over the line, and in this Class B Titanic scrap, it is still Sittner, Weaver. Behind the yellow headlighted Ford Sierra is Godfrey Hall in 3rd place in Class B. What a fabulous scrap this is. This is the car that's won the European Championship for the last 2 years. And look at the difference at the front of these 2 white BMWs. Sittner, no spoiler, Weaver has got one. Now, it must make a difference somewhere on the circuit that James Weaver has got better aerodynamics by virtue of the fact that he has got a spoiler. But up front there is Andy Rouse, leading Rob Gravett, number 21. You can see how close Rob is. He's not giving Andy any rest at all. And back at Stowe, it's still Sittner, Weaver. There's Jones in the Sierra, behind him Godfrey Hall. Absolutely on the ragged edge, drifting out over the rumble bars. Now we're with Weaver, approaching Abbey. He's closing up on Sittner. He's going to come out of Abbey faster than Frank. He's got the momentum. He's pulling ahead. Weaver is ahead. But Frank Sittner is not giving up. He is fighting on. Look at him, number 33. Nothing in it. Out of the chicane. Down the straight into Copse yet again. Weaver, Sittner. Carl Jones still can't get past them in the 500 horsepower Ford Sierra. And Rob Gravett is fighting too, still with the race leader, number 1, Andy Rouse, as they lap the Class D 1600cc Toyota Corollas, and they are lapping nose to tail at some 108 miles an hour. Stab of flame as Gravett overruns on the turbo. He's right in the slipstream of Andy Rouse now. Is he going to try and get through as they come up to Abbey? It's quite possible. Into Bridge. Well, last year it was Andy Rouse all the way. 9 dominating wins from 12 races. But Rob Gravett's really making him work this year. Into the chicane, out of it. They're lapping the Class D leader, Phil Dowsett, in the 1600cc Toyota Corolla. Copse. But behind them, approaching Bridge, there's a solid wodge of cars, and Carl Jones is ahead of the BMWs. There he is. But look at Sittner with the blue screen. He's through on the inside. He hits Weaver. He's onto the grass, and Weaver passes him, and Weaver is ahead again. But the way Frank is pushing, can he stay ahead? Well, into the chicane. Weaver ahead, Sittner second. In car with the BRDC sports car champion Tim Harvey, 3rd in the Sierra, down hanger. Lawrence Bristow is right behind him. And a great wrench at the wheel by Tim Harvey. Bristow through on the inside into 3rd position, out of Stowe, and that's the trouble. Tim Harvey has got a puncture in the left rear and more M3 action. That is the ex-Saab champion, John Llewellyn. He's lost it, he's recovering, accelerating away. Lost places there, of course, and here's Andy. Cool, calm, and still leading in the 500 horsepower, turbocharged 2-litre Ford Sierra. But Behind him, there is a new lap record, Rob Gravett, at 108.21 miles an hour. And lap 10 is 2/3 race distance. Rouse, Gravett, Bristow, Good, Hodgetts, Brodie. And into the pits comes last year's Silverstone winner Jerry Marnie from 10th position. Slowly crawling in. And here's Tim Harvey limping in to get that left rear changed. So, what's the trouble, Jerry Marnie?
The ignition system's gone completely dead. They're just trying to fix it now, but looks like it's fairly terminal.
Well, it's all happening. Tony Crutchington's got a smoky old problem with the Toyota there, and coming up fast behind him are battling BMWs. Crutchington moves across. He's going to go onto the grass. No, he's not. He's going to go onto the circuit. What is he doing? Past him go the BMWs. Weaver ahead. Now, 1988 British champion Frank Sittner won 11 out of 12 class victories last year and the championship. But the talented James Weaver, and this is him, beat him at Alton Park, and it looks as though he's going to beat him again. Down a gear. Bang! Sittner's hit him up the back, look! Out of Chapel. Well, Sittner really is pushing hard. Not content to sit behind his boot lid, he's trying to open it. Down the hanger straight. And Sittner seems to be prepared to drive over the top of Weaver if he has to. He's swarming all over the car in front. And it frankly amazes me that Sittner's able to go so quickly without that spoiler, because Silverstone is a quick circuit where you need all the aerodynamic help you can get. And it's Class B, Weaver leading, 33 Sittner in second place. Weaver approaching Abbey now at about 140 miles an hour. This is what he sees. And as they come up to the left-hander of Bridge, incredible! Sittner is trying to pass, there! Right up on his side, he pushes Weaver onto the grass. He literally smashes his way past. But look at that smoke. That'll be the tar grinding against the BMW bodywork. How long can it last? Here's how Weaver sees it. Into the left-hander and crump onto the gravel bed. There goes Frank on the left. Well, this is more like stock car racing than touring car racing. And it's almost the end of the race. In fact, here is Andy Rouse coming out of the chicane to win round 2. And Rob Gravett takes second place. But who's going to win the BMW brawl? It's Frank Sittner ahead, but 32 Weaver is closing and smoking too, like Sittner. Down to Stowe Corner. They're coming up to pass one of the amazing Vauxhall Astras, which are pulverising Class C. This is the last lap for Sittner, leading Class B. Weaver with the red headlights in second place, number 32. And it looks as though Sittner's aggression is going to pay off. But is it? As they approach club, James Weaver is closing. They're almost home now. They've only got to do Abbey, Bridge, the chicane, and that's the end of the race. And here's Weaver. He's going to take Sittner. He's closing all the time. Sittner goes into the left-hander and Abbey. He's lost it. He's off. Wow. That was undoubtedly a burst tyre. So James Weaver wins the class again, and he deserves to. But I'll tell you this, there's going to be a brisk demand for BMW body parts tomorrow. Weaver comes home, but it's overall victory for Andy Rouse, with Rob Gravett second, Bristow third, Good fourth, Brodie fifth, and Chris Hodgetts sixth. But what did James Weaver think about his hell on wheels?
You know, Frank and I are obviously racing each other, but normally when you overtake somebody, you get alongside going into the corner, and it's your corner. But if you start trying to overtake halfway between the turning point and the apex, when it's not really your corner, of course, we're going to meet in the middle. And every time Frank thought he was anything like close enough, he'd just come down the inside and try and knock me off the road. And, you know, it's impossible to race against something like that.
I mean, is that brain fade or aggression?
Well, Frank's one of the most aggressive people I've ever raced against, but we're in the same team, and if you can't overtake me cleanly, I don't really think he should drive like that.
With a couple of laps to go, I knew the only way to win that really was to take a pretty serious chance somewhere, preferably somewhere a bit slow, or the slower corners, just to try and get through, which sort of worked, but James quite rightly closed the door quite firmly. We touched. I came off best of that. We both struggled around the last lap with tyre smoke and anything else pouring off the car. As I turned into Abbey, with effectively 2 corners to go, the left rear tyre blew. Well, the rest is fairly obvious.
But spectacular competition. Things have changed little since last season. But what of the other joint championship leader after the first round, John Cleland in the 16-valve Astra GTE in Class C? Because of a wheel hub failure, he'd qualified last in class, but rapidly made up the ground off the start line. It takes him just the length of the straight to make short work of the Class D Toyotas, blasting past Phil Dowsett and Jeff Kimber-Smith. In his sights next, Mike Jordan's Class C Peugeot 309 GTI. He'd be past him by maggots. Further on that first lap, down the hangar straight, and he waves the Class C leader Alan Minshaw in a Volkswagen Golf GTI out of the way. Last in class to first inside the first half lap. And Cleland wasn't stopping there. Pretty soon he was up among the Class A Sierras, like Dave Pinkney, and was equally ambitious, equally unforgiving. John Cleland on his way to an excellent 19th overall, and the championship lead on his own. Victory in Class D went to Phil Dowsett in the Toyota Corolla FX GT. We were travelling right up alongside the first round winner, Jeff Kimber-Smith, the early leader in Class D, battling with Tony Crudgington in the similar Corolla GT. But what Kimber-Smith is also battling is an engine that's on the point of giving out after just 2 laps. Crudgington pulls away and Phil Dowsett also gets past. So it's between Crudgington and Dowsett for the class points, a result that's decided at the end of the lap. Phil Dowsett, a man who came so close to the overall title last year, struggling to get a full season's deal together this year, lines his man up on the exit to Woodcote for a passing manoeuvre down the straight. Mike Jordan's Class C Peugeot in close attendance, but Phil Dowsett the winner of Class D. The overall table after 2 rounds shows Cleland with 2 victories and 2 fastest laps, leading from Weaver, 2 victories and 1 fastest lap. But it's Weaver in the BMW who's had by far the toughest class win at Silverstone.
Almost at the end of the parade lap before the rolling start on Thruxton's 2.4-mile lap. 34 starters, 4 classes, and up front, it's the Ford Sierra Cosworths of number 1 Andy Rouse and Tim Harvey, number 7. Over the line, and Lawrence Bristow comes sprinting through from the 4th row, drops back as they go into the first right-hander, and it's Andy Rouse leading. Chris Hodgetts in 2nd place, Harvey with him, and Dave Brodie up into 4th position, up to the complex. And it's Andy Rouse, Chris Hodgetts in the red Sierra in 2nd place, and Brodie challenging Harvey for 3rd position. Now up to Seagrave, the fast right-hander, 3rd gear, 80 miles an hour. No change at the front. Then on to Noble, the left-hander. And that's Andy Rouse. His car rocking on its suspension, full power. Behind Andy Rouse, it's still Chris Hodgetts in 2nd place. Then Harvey and Brodie. Look for Dave Brodie in the white Sierra. There he is with Rob Gravett, the winner at Alton Park, number 21, in 5th position. Now out of Village, down to Church Corner, 130 miles an hour. It's Rouse leading, Hodgetts up behind him, then Harvey, Brodie in the white Sierra, Rob Gravett and Guy Edwards in the twin car to Andy Rouse's leading Sierra in 6th place. Through the chicane, it's Rouse leading, Chris Hodgetts in 2nd place, and then there's a 3-second gap into Allard. Rouse with Hodgetts tight up behind him. Into the chicane. This is the rest of the field coming through. The Toyota Corolla last. And he goes off. It's Leslie Lydiard going off in the Toyota Corolla. Rejoining. And at the complex, Hodgetts is giving Rouse a really hard time. terrific scrap for third position. And Carl Jones nearly goes off, taking Newman. Now we're in car with the British champion Frank Sittner. Now, do you remember Silverstone? Well, that's James Weaver's BMW in front again, so don't go away, folks. 140 miles an hour on the sweeping curves at Thruxton. James Weaver leads Class B, and number 33, Frank Sittner, is in 16th place behind 14 Sierras and 1 BMW. And at the club chicane, second gear, 70 miles an hour, number 1, Andy Rouse, leads just ahead of Hodgetts. Now the right tyres can win this race, and they're on a mixture of Pirellis, Dunlops and Yokohamas. And now we're in car with Guy Edwards in his Ford Sierra, over 500 horsepower. It'll do over 150 miles an hour. He is in 6th place. Ahead of him, Rod Gravett, and ahead of him, Dave Brodie and Tim Harvey. And watch the big white needle on the turbo gauge. Andy Rouse leads, edging away from Chris Hodgetts. Absolutely flat out. Behind Hodgetts, Brodie is up into third position. Brodie in the white Sierra is up into third, ahead of Harvey fourth, Gravett fifth, and a terrific scrap between Edwards and Bristow. There they are for 6th position. And this is Guy Edwards, 140 miles an hour. He's catching Rob Gravett. Easing up alongside the red and white Sierra. He's going to take him at the chicane. No, he's not. Gravett moves across, takes the racing line, goes into the right, into the left. It's Hodgetts second, Brodie third, Harvey fourth, Gravett, Edwards, Bristow, and just 5 seconds covering the first 7. And Guy Edwards is going for 5th position inside Rob Gravett. Is he going to stay there? Yes, he is. He goes through. Guy Edwards moves up into 5th position. And Bristow is catching Rob Gravett. Look for Bristow in the blue Sierra. Up to the complex. Hodgetts is second, Brodie third. Harvey, there he is, fourth. Then Guy Edwards, Gravett, Bristow, there's Edwards. And Guy Edwards, ex-Grand Prix driver, is really motoring. Now he's after the blue Sierra in front of him. 4th place, Tim Harvey, with Brodie and Hodgetts ahead of Harvey. And at Village, at 140 miles an hour, Dave Brodie on the left is going to take 2nd place. He's going to take Hodgetts number 15. And Dave Brodie goes through, masterly bit of driving, and look, he is fairly racing away from Chris Hodgetts. Down to the chicane. And at the chicane, Tim Harvey is going past Chris Hodgetts. Now, no disrespect to Brodie and Harvey, but something must be wrong with Hodgetts Sierra. And yes, it is. Edwards, Gravett and Bristow are closing right up on Hodgetts. So, on now, up to Allard. Guy Edwards pulls out. He's passing Hodgetts. Great drive by Guy Edwards, number 10. And at the complex, the order is Andy Rouse, absolutely out on his own. Dave Brodie is in 2nd position, and there is Brodie. Harvey is up into 3rd place. Edwards is 4th. Hodgetts is down to 5th position in the red Sierra. Then it's Bristow in 6th position and Rob Gravett in 7th place. In car now with Chris Hodgetts, 5th position. Edwards ahead. And that's Bristow. Lawrence Bristow on the right, passing Hodgetts to take 5th position, and Andy Rouse is slowing up. That is the race leader. He's been passed by Brodie. Harvey and Edwards pass him. Oh my goodness. Now there's Bristow going up to 4th. And in a moment, yes, Hodgetts and Gravett go past 5th and 6th, and Andy Rouse is out of the race. So now, 44-year-old Dave Brodie from Hurley, there he is, leads. He's won over 200 races in 26 years. And Harvey and Edwards, 2nd and 3rd, and Guy, we're with him now, is really on his way. Allard corner, 100 miles an hour. He's catching the British sports car champion, Tim Harvey. Look at that turbo gauge. Into the complex, right up with Harvey. And Harvey's teammate, Lawrence Bristow, in the 2nd Blue Sierra, is catching Guy. He's made a fine recovery after a jump start. And Andy Rouse abandons his Sierra. It's a very poor 1989 for Andy. But Dave Brodie, who's concentrated on the handling of his car rather than speed's got a nice cushion. There's the battle for second, third and fourth. Tim Harvey, Guy Edwards, Lawrence Bristow. In car with Edwards. He can see second place ahead. He's inching up on Harvey at the approach to the chicane. He's got the momentum. It's all going to be down to braking as they come into the chicane. Guy Edwards is going through. But he's lost it. Look at the steering wheel. Guy Edwards goes sideways. Harvey goes on. Bristow moves up into third position. Guy Edwards goes down to fourth, and that will surely have rooted his tyres. And now, number 10, Guy Edwards down to fourth position, is chasing Lawrence Bristow. And back at the chicane, the class-leading BMWs are at it again. Number 32, James Weaver, leads Class B. He's just ahead of his teammate, Frank Sidner. They're 12th and 13th behind David Pinckney's Pink Sierra. At the complex, Silverstone ended in harsh words when Sidner rammed Weaver, and he's very close to James again. This is going to be really something. Sidner edging up to Weaver all the time. They've both got to take Pinckney's Sierra. And there's a resigned-looking Chris Hodgins, who could have won here, just as he could have won at Silverstone. And it's obviously an engine problem that's taken the ever-cheerful Chris out.
The car was understeering very badly, and a lot of cars came past, and what has happened is the hose has gone, and it's just putting water onto the left front tyre, so terminal understeer plus overheating, so live to fight another day.
And there's a fighter in the third of these three cars. Championship leader John Cleland from Peebles in the astounding 220 horsepower Vauxhall Astra. 18th in the race, way ahead in his class and passing John Morris's BMW. And this is the car that's going to be very difficult to beat in the overall championship. It goes like smoke, and John won the brutal Thunder Saloons Championship 3 years running. But he's waving people through. He's waved the BMWs past. And I think I spoke too soon. He's slowing down. They're going past him all the time. Cleland looks in the mirror. He's obviously unhappy about something, the way he waves his hand. He's definitely going a lot slower. And sure enough, there's the problem. Left front tyre punctured, and Cleland is coming into the pits to change it. Well, that's cruel luck, because he was leading his class easily. But it's still close between the BMWs in Class B. James Weaver still just ahead, up to Allard, 100 miles an hour. In car with Frank Sidner, the British champion of 1988. But James Weaver's won both the two races so far this year, and if he can stay ahead of Sidner, he'll be the overall championship leader. So, out of the complex, and Sidner comes up along the inside of Weaver, but you won't get through there, Frank, because Weaver's got the inside line on the right, and he keeps it, and he keeps the lead. On to Seagrave. Now to Noble, and we're in car with Cleland, and you can hear the tyre problem. Coming out of the chicane as Cleland clears it, Tony Crudgerton spins. And Crudgerton has already put up the fastest lap in Class D in his Toyota Corolla, 96 miles an hour, rejoins the race. And Guy Edwards spins in fourth position. And I suspect that his tyres are shot after that problem earlier on. Now, this is an in-car replay with Guy Edwards into the chicane. Bristow and Harvey ahead. Out of it. And Guy Edwards loses it, full left lock, but the back of the car spins round. And that's the same place as Tony Crudgerton lost it. Maybe there's oil on the circuit. Anyway, Guy rejoins in 8th place onto the complex. There he is, trying to make up time. And he's lost it again. Now that must be tyres. And Guy Edwards rejoins the course well down the race now. He rejoins with Gravett and Walker. and Jerry Marnie. Rob Gravett, Sean Walker and Jerry Marnie, and now Guy Edwards is with them. But ahead, it's really close at the front because there's only 6 seconds covering the first 3. Dave Brodie there leading. And there is Tim Harvey. Lawrence Bristow behind him. The teammates in 2nd and 3rd places. Really going well. And smoke from Bristow's car. He goes off over the grass. Is he going to hit the barrier? No. Lawrence Bristow, and I suspect because there's been a lot of tyre problems that he's had one too. Anyway, Bristow looks perfectly all right. And Brodie is now coming through. Let's see where Harvey is. Look for the blue Sierra. There it is in the background. And the gap between Brodie in the lead and Harvey second, there's Brodie, is 4 seconds over the line. Dave Brodie, number 19, he's raced all over the world, Macau, South America, the Caribbean, and now he's looking a certain winner here at Thruxton. And with Bristow out, Dave Brodie leading and Harvey second. Up into 3rd place has come Carl Jones, followed by Mike Newman, Sean Walker in 5th position, and Rob Gravett 6th. But here's the BMW brawl in Class B. Weaver, number 32, still leaving. Sittner right behind him. Out of the chicane, 70 miles an hour, up towards Allard. Now, can Frank Sittner do anything about catching and passing James Weaver? Let's look back from Weaver's BMW at Frank Sittner. Fearless Frank is charging. New class lap record, 101.1 miles an hour, and it's brought him right up to the boot lid of Weaver's BMW. And Frank's in the spare car. He rolled his race car at over 100 miles an hour in practice. So this is a really terrific drive. Frank drops back a bit there, but no doubt he'll be right up with us soon. He's closing on the right-hander. Now they're going to the fastest part of the course, nearly 140 miles an hour in these 2.3-litre, 320 horsepower, 4-cylinder BMWs. Coming down to the chicane. They've got to go right down through the box into 2nd gear. Brake very hard indeed. Is Sittner going to try for it at the chicane? He'll have a job because Weaver's got the inside line, and that's the one that matters. Right. Left, Sittner can't get through there. Now out to complete another lap. Up to Allard. On come Weaver's brake lights, just a little dab. Up to the complex again. Campbell is the right-hander. Into the right-hander now. And there's a gap. And there's contact. Take that, James, and he almost spins. But Weaver still leads Class B. He's had a tremendous clout on the left-hand side of his car, and that's where he's sitting, and again Sittner is trying. And this time he goes ahead, but not for long, because Weaver is back again. Into Noble at over 100 miles an hour, and here is a replay. Let's see what happened. Sittner tries to take Weaver on the inside, hits the BMW hard. Weaver recovers magnificently, gets back onto the racing line and holds the lead. And up ahead, Gravett and Marnie are battling for 6th position, and we are with Jerry Marnie. He's going for the place as they come up to the complex. He's through on the inside, Gravett on the left. Gravett retakes the lead because he's got the inside line at the left-hander, and he'll keep it at the right-hander, or will he? Yes, just chops across the front of Marnie's car. And there's the BMWs again. Still Weaver ahead, and a fine 8th position overall out of the complex. Continuing round the right-hander, which leads up to Noble at over 100 miles an hour, and you can see how close they are. They're accelerating hard, speeding up 125 miles an hour into the right-hander at Goodwood. That leads on to Church, where they're going even quicker, 135 miles an hour. And Frank Sittner is not giving up, and nor is James Weaver. Two very hard men, and they are both determined to win their class. Now, this is the really quick bit, and if Frank Sittner's got the momentum, he just might get through. And it looks as though he has. He's coming out of the slipstream of Weaver's car, but Weaver again has got the inside. You won't get through there, Frank. Will he? No, he won't. Weaver holds the line. Sidner has to go wide, tuck in behind the white boot lid of Weaver's BMW, and once again, James is leading as he crosses the line. Brodie ahead overall. Harvey, Jones, Newman, Walker and Gravett is the order. Now, James Weaver has 19 points overall in the championship. Sidner, that we're riding with, has 7, and it's 9 points for a class win. Up to the complex again. And Sidner's done it again. He pushes Weaver off and takes the lead. Now, was that fair or foul? Well, there'll be a tense atmosphere in the motorhome after that, no doubt about it, because Frank Sidner is well away now, and I don't think that Weaver's going to catch him. This is the last lap for Dave Brodie. Almost home for a great win, his first since 1985, with a new lap record, 105.2 miles an hour, and that would make it 3 different winners in 3 races in the championship. Frank Sidner is undoubtedly going to win Class B. He's only got to complete the lap, but what about that passing manoeuvre? Well, you judge. Sidner tries to take Weaver on the inside. Weaver's got nowhere to go except off the course, but that gave Sidner the class victory. And here he is, almost home at the end of the lap. With James Weaver coming in second in the Class B. There he is, 32, but Dave Brodie's race with Tim Harvey in second position. And there's Dave, his distinctive black helmet. Great victory for him. Tim Harvey in second place and Carl Jones an excellent third in the Asquith Motorsport Sierra.
Dave Brodie then a surprise winner of round 3, and Rob Gravett coming in 6th to keep his lead in Class A. Class B, though, was Sidner's revenge on Weaver, but the manner of its execution prompted quite a debate. Once again, the crowd were enthralled, James Weaver slightly less so. But compared to what had happened at Silverstone the round before, Sidner was a lot more confident of his case.
I've already heard the suggestion from someone that it was not a legitimate move. Frankly, if you watch a Formula 4 or a Formula 3 race, you're going to see much worse moves than that.
Feelings seem to be a little bit heated after Silverstone. Are they still a bit heated?
I think, well, they're not for me, but they could be for other people. You know, I've apologised for Silverstone. You know, I was definitely out of order, and I went on record as saying that I was. As far as this race was concerned, I was actually lapping usefully quicker than James. He was in a car that was difficult to handle. Mine was nice and easy, and somewhere or other, I deserved to get through.
Frank and I can sort it out man to man. I don't need to sort of complain publicly about him, and I hope he wouldn't do the same about me, but certainly think we'll have to go and have a chat together.
Louise Aitken-Walker wins Class C. John Cleland is probably having a quiet chat with his pit crew. The time lost by the championship leader when he punctured couldn't be regained, but it was still another good result for Vauxhall and the 16-valve Astra. Louise Aitken-Walker winning the class and making the transition from rallying to racing.
Well, it's a 30-minute sprint, you know, the car's all round you. It's a bit different from the trees. At least the trees don't move. The cars bump into you here.
5 runners also in Class D, led home by Phil Dowsett's Toyota Corolla GT. Tony Dolly in second. More useful points for Dowsett that put him in sight of John Cleland and James Weaver, who are now tied for the championship lead. Rob Gravett, the leading runner from a Class A that's produced 3 separate winners in 3 races. Nothing processional or predictable about this 1989 championship. So to Donington for round 4, the traditional hour-long race with driver changes.
Well, this is going to be different. 30 cars on their way to the rolling start on Donington's superb 2.5-mile lap. With an hour to go, compulsory driver changes, and Rob Gravett, winner of round 1, in his first pole position in the red and white Cartel Sierra, alongside Dave Brodie, the Thruxton winner. Into the pit lane goes the pace car, and round 4 is go. And Rob Gravett fairly leaps into the lead, straight off into Redgate. Andy Rouse is going through on the inside of Dave Brodie to take second position. Then it's Guy Edwards, Bristow, David Sears, Jerry Marney, and now we're in car with Guy Edwards in 4th place. Immediately ahead of us, it's Andy Rouse. In front of him, Dave Brodie, and leading is Rob Gravett going down into the old hairpin, and here he is. Right behind him, Brodie and Rouse together. Guy Edwards, now the climb up to McLean's. 4th gear, building up to 110 miles an hour. Look for Gravett, there he is out front. Brodie behind him, Rouse immediately in front of us. Out of McLean's at about 100 miles an hour, and there's 7 cars together. Gravett, Brodie, Rouse, Edwards, Bristow, Sears, and Jerry Marnie in 7th place. 3rd gear, down the straight at 125 miles an hour. Gravett leading. He's got a good lead now over Dave Brodie. Rouse is dropping back. Edwards is catching the 3rd position man, Andy Rouse. And David Sears is going through at the chicane and taking 5th position from Lawrence Bristow. Out of the chicane, down to Redgate again. And look at the lead that Gravett's got. Brodie 2nd, Russ and Edwards absolutely together, and Sears and Bristow there absolutely together, followed by Jerry Marnie in 7th place. Now, in car with Bristow, 6th position. And Andy Rouse on the left is slowing. Edwards and Sears past him. And now Bristow's past him up into 5th position. Andy Rouse down to 6th. And at the old hairpin there are 5 Sierras. Edwards, Sears, Bristow, Rouse, Marnie. And Steve Soper here in the BMW M3 is leading Class B with a damaged wing. Let's see how it happened. On the left is Mike Smith and Carl Jones. Smith goes up to 9th, past Carl Jones. Dave Pinkney passes us on the left at 125 miles an hour. Down to the chicane, Pinkney past Jones. Soper takes Jones, and there's contact between Pinkney and Smith, and Soper. Soper has hit Pinkney's car. And he's trying to tell us, waving his hand. He's chasing Mike Smith now. But back in the race at the chicane, Andy Rouse there, number 1, is in trouble. The others are getting away, but Rouse is coming into the pit lane. And at Redgate, Gerrit Van Cowen and Mike Smith are battling for 9th position. Here they are, Van Cowen, number 25, Mike Smith, number 20. And there's contact, there's a nudge, and off goes Van Cowen into the sand trap. But he's kept the Sierra rolling. That's really difficult, and he gets a big round of applause from the crowd. He deserves it. Well done, Gerrit. Now, in the pits, Andy Rouse, the winner of round 2. Looks like an electrical problem. They're examining the plugs, and he doesn't look at all happy. But he gets away, sounding a bit rough. And now we're in car with Steve Soper. The right front wing is peeled right back, and he's showing the pits with his hand as he goes past. And there's Dave Lapworth asking Charles Reynolds if he knows what's wrong. But now, let's have a look at it from Frank Sidner's point of view, following Soper. There's Soper in the white car, and he hits Dave Pinkney's car, peels back the right wing, and now he's got a major problem. Is it going to affect the aerodynamics of his car? It looks all right on the left, but it's all wrong on the right. And number 70, Phil Dowsett, is leading Class D. And there in the red and white Sierra, number 21 is race leader Rob Gravett. Look for Dave Brodie now in the white Sierra behind him. There he is. Guy Edwards in 3rd position. Right behind him is Sears in the blue car. And Lawrence Bristow is 5th, his teammate. And there is the leader, 21, Rob Gravett. Into the chicane. He's starting to lap people now. Dave Brodie holding a strong 2nd position. And now we are in car with Jerry Marnie, 6th position, down the straight at 125 miles an hour. And that is steam. That is steam coming up from under the bonnet into the chicane. He nearly goes off. He's lost traction on the front wheels. There's a big problem there for Jerry Marnie. And how lucky for him. He comes straight into the pits. Now, let's see if we can sort out what the problem is. That's what the mechanics have got to do. Up will come the bonnet. There is steam coming out of everywhere, including the fascia vents. And I would imagine a hose has gone.
All this water out, it's not boiled.
Yes, it had. And now, back in the race, Rob Gravett leading. Brodie, there's Guy Edwards in 3rd position, Sears and Bristow. Don't drink and drive, that's good advice. And now in car with Lawrence Bristow. And ahead of us, Bristow's teammate, David Sears, son of the ex-British saloon champion, Jack Sears. This This is the fastest part of the course. Down the long straight, into the chicane, and Sears is getting it sideways. Sears goes off. Over the curbing, over the grass. Bristow goes through, up into 4th position. Well, there's a bit of bad luck for Sears. He's lost the place. Can he regain it? And Andy Rouse is back in the pits. A worried-looking Wyn Percy, his co-driver, alongside him. And Mike Smith, look for number 20, is now 7th. There he is. He's Rob Gravett's teammate, so his team are 1st and 7th. Down to the old hairpin, and Dave Brodie has got a problem. That is the man who was in 2nd position, number 19, Dave Brodie. You can see what the problem is. Punctured left rear tyre. Mike Smith and Sean Walker have passed him. There's Newman passed. And here is Mike Newman chasing Walker and Smith. Number 3, Mike Newman. And that's Louise Aitken-Walker in the Vauxhall Astra. She's about to be lapped by Mike Smith. He tucks in tight, he's onto the grass. He's going off the course. Mike Smith plunging across the infield at Donington. And Tom Wheatcroft doesn't like his grass cut up. Mike is going to be in trouble when he gets away, but he's rejoining the course, back onto the tarmac. Mike Smith well down now. Back he goes. And that is Mike Wiles, Smith's co-driver, talking to Jeff Allam, who's sharing with race leader Rob Gravett, and that's Gravett's pit signal. Rob Gravett leads, Guy Edwards 2nd, Bristow 3rd, Sears 4th, Walker 5th, and Steve Soper is leading Class B in 8th position. And there is the BMW M3. Steve Soper, last year he drove for the German Eggenberger team in the Sierra. He's got smoke pouring from the right front of the car where the wing is obviously damaging the tyre. He's driven in Escorts, Ibs, Minis, Fiestas, Metros, Rovers, Fords, and now the BMW. Coming down to the chicane at 70 miles an hour. Right, left. Change up, down towards Redgate. Approaching at 125 miles an hour. Chasing the Sierra ahead, which is Dave Pinkney in 7th position. And he's going to catch him soon, and look at that wing! Now, up to the Craner curves at 120 miles an hour, dropping downhill and accelerating. Up to the old hairpin, down into 3rd gear, and he's going to take Pinkney before he gets there, and he does so. So, Steve Soper is up into 7th position. Out of the hairpin, now climbing towards McLean's, past John Morris's VW Golf, and now he's after Mike Newman's Sierra, which is in 6th position. Out of McLean's, onto Coppice at 100 miles an hour, and that wing still flapping alongside the door on the right-hand side. And Steve Soper not a bit ruffled. And meantime, race leader Rob Gravett is catching the 2 BMWs in front of him. That's Godfrey Hall and Ian Forrest and John Llewellyn. There is Godfrey Hall, number 43. Forrest behind him in the white BMW. There's Llewellyn. And Gravett is behind Llewellyn. Coming up to pass him now. There's Guy Edwards. There is Bristow, 3.5 seconds between the first 3. And Sears is in 4th place. Down the straight. And Forrest in the white BMW is all over Hall's car. Looking to the right, looking to the left as they come down to the chicane to see a way through, but there isn't one. And Rob Gravett coming up fast behind them. Down to Redgate. This is Rob Gravett's opportunity to close the gap and lap the 2 BMWs and put them between him and the 2nd and 3rd men. And that's Phil Dowsing coming out of the pits in the Toyota Corolla, down to Craner. Gravett is lapping Forrest. And Forrest nearly loses it. Locks up the right front, smoke pouring from the tyre. Godfrey Hall is pulling away. In car now with Guy Edwards, 2nd place ahead. Rob Gravett is being held up by the BMWs. He's passed Forrest. Now Gravett's got to try and take Hall, and Edwards has got to try and get past Forrest. That's the white car in front. And Gravett is past Hall. Edwards is past Forrest. And Bristow is right behind Guy Edwards. What a terrific scrap for the first 3 places. In car with Bristow in 3rd position, past Forrest. Edwards is past Hall. And Van Cowan savages Mike Smith. Now that is what I would call tit for tat. Off goes Mike Smith, stationary, losing places. He's got to get the Sierra going again. And number 33 is Frank Sidner. The chicane, Gravett, Edwards, Bristow, all together. Now, is anything going to happen on the run down to Redgate? Let's have a look. There's Gravett, Edwards, Bristow, 1.7 seconds covers the first 3 on lap 21. On to Craner. Now, this race could be won on the pit stops. It's that close at the front. Gravett, Edwards, Bristow, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and there, number 7, David Sears is about to lap the 2 BMWs, 4th position, up to McLean's. Gravett still leads. Number 10, Guy Edwards there in 2nd place, and Gravett has just put up the fastest lap so far. 1 minute 44.9, 94.1 miles an hour. And there is Mike Newman in 6th position. But not anymore, not anymore. As I said, a gigantic explosion that looks like engine, and Mike Newman is definitely out of the race. And into the pits comes Mike Smith to change over with Mike Wiles, his co-driver. Now, this is critical. If they're slow here, they'll lose time and they'll lose places, and they've still got to do up the harness. Mike Smith helping Wiles. And Mike has certainly had an eventful race.
One spin because the Astra moved offline on me when I was lapping it, and the other spin I'm going to talk to Mr. Van Cowan about down here at Redgate. I took him on the outside and he just bashed me in the back wing and knocked me off.
Oh dear, that sounds a heavy number, but meantime, here is Steve Soper leading the B class, 6th overall. It's a left-hand drive car. He's going to change over with James Weaver. And meantime, they're working on changing the tyres and taping up that damaged front wing. Out goes James Weaver. Driver change in the BMW. And at the chicane, Gravett is still out there leading. There is Edwards in 2nd position and Bristow behind in 3rd. Sears in the 2nd Blue Sierra, 4th. And into the pits comes Bristow. Now he's going to change over with Tiffany Dell in the orange helmet. Meantime, Sears has gone up into 3rd position, and there is no tyre change, you will note, on the Bristow car. Tiffany Dell, ex-Grand Prix driver, into the Sierra, out of the pit lane, into the race. And that was a really slick pit stop. Excellent work. Tiffany Dell joins the track, back onto the circuit now. And Lawrence Bristow walks back to the pit. A job well done. And that's Tim Harvey waiting to relieve Sears. And Jeff Allen is ready there somewhere to take over from Rob Gravett. There he is. That's Jeff Allen. Hasn't driven for a while. And here's Rob Gravett. What a great drive. He's coming up to lap John Cleland, who's leading Class C in the Vauxhall Astra and is the overall championship leader. And past him he goes. Rob Gravett got a tremendous power advantage, and we're in car with Guy Edwards in 2nd place. There's Cleland ahead, but you remember Rob Gravett has just lapped, so Gravett is ahead of Cleland. And Edwards will want to get past Cleland immediately after the chicane and before Redgate. There's Edwards. And Gravett has stopped short of his pit. He's come in and he's stopped short. And Edwards is in. Edwards is in the background. That should gain him a lot of time. And now Sears is in for Harvey to take over, for Tim Harvey in the yellow helmet to take over. Gravett is helping Allen with the belts. Very important. They've got to get properly tightened up. And out goes Tim Harvey. And that is Jeff Allen. He has taken over from Rob Gravett. And then it's Wyn Percy in place of Guy Edwards, and there is Tiffany Dell through in the lead as Harvey comes out of the pits in 2nd place. Allen comes out in 3rd place, and immediately behind him, Wyn Percy is 4th. So Tiffany Dell is looking good. in car with Win Percy, 4th position. Jeff Allen ahead. Craner Curves. And from the Craner Curves to the old hairpin. And Percy is catching Allen, no doubt about it. Damon Hill is right behind Percy. That is number 5, and he has taken over from Sean Walker, and he's in 5th position. In car with Percy, 4th place. Allen ahead. Damon Hill is right behind. You can't see him, but Win Percy can, and there is Hill. Up to McLean's. And Percy's losing it. No, he's not. Masterly recovery, but he's drifted out wide. He's lost time, and Damon Hill goes through. Damon Hill through into 4th position. Percy attacks. He's got the momentum. He's past Damon Hill. No, Hill is still ahead as they come down to the chicane. And Hill tucks in on the apex, maintains his place. 4th place. Win Percy, number 10 in 5th position. Down to Redgate. Jeff Allen, number 21, is in 3rd place. That is Damon Hill, and number 10 there is Win Percy in 5th position. So, Hill is still in 4th place, and that is Tiffany Dell leading the race at the old hairpin. Lap 30, in car with Win Percy, 5th place, and he's losing it. He spins right round. Win Percy spins to a standstill, and that has really cost him. But he gets away well. Into the pits, James Weaver. He's going to lose the B-class lead. And he says the car is jammed in 6th gear. Steve Soper's not happy. He built up the lead. And now James Weaver is saying, push me, I'm in 6th gear. I've got to get away from standstill. And he gets away in 9th position, down from 6th. 33 is leading the B-class. He is in 6th position. 2 BMWs ahead. Jerry Marshall is in one of them. This is the ProDrive Works car that we're riding with. Up to the VW in front. Right into it, left out of it. He gets a signal to pass on the left, and he passes on the left. Passes on the left, and now ahead, the Class D leader, Phil Dowsett's Toyota, disappears backwards. And at McLean's, the leaders are slicing through the field. Liddell leading, Harvey and Allen together, there they are. And Allen, number 21, is starting to attack Tim Harvey. He's got on the inside of him. Harvey goes onto the grass, regains the circuit. And Allen is coming along the outside of the chicane. Harvey holds the inside line. Allen nearly hits him, keeps clear. There's Harvey, the blue car, pulling out and passing Mike Wilds. And now Allen passes Mike Wilds. Excellent driving through the field. And Damon Hill goes through in the black and white Sierra. Number 20, Mike Wilds, is dropping back. In car now with Win Percy in 5th position, past Crudgington. Catching Mike Wilds, and he spins! Mike Wilds spins! Sparks underneath, something jammed underneath the chassis. Now, Coppice corner, Harvey. Allen, number 21. Damon Hill in 4th position, out of Coppice. And Allen is trying to pass, and he's passing Harvey. Allen going up into 2nd position, and Mike Wilds there is out of the race. Now, let's see what caused it. We're with Win Percy. There is Mike Wilds ahead. The car does a complete spin, and obviously something jammed, fouled under the car, and made him spin. And at Starkey's, Damon Hill is up into 3rd position. Number 7, Harvey, is down to 4th. Percy, number 10, is in 5th position. Damon Hill's driving a magnificent race. And this is the first touring car race he's driven in for a long time. In car with Win Percy. Harvey ahead. Hill ahead of him in 3rd position. Down the straight. Harvey passes Hill up into 3rd place. Tremendously hugely close racing. Now the chicane. So Harvey is third, Hill is fourth, Percy, we're with him, is fifth. And Damon Hill hits Harvey as they go out of the chicane. Percy is past Hill up into fourth position. And that is Tim Harvey ahead and outspins the O'Brien-Donovan Sierra. Well, all action at Donington. Fortunately, all clear there, and now Win Percy is really going for third position. Number 10, Win Percy, pushing Tim Harvey. Number 7, very hard indeed. Out of McLean's, out of Coppice, in car with Percy, the ex-Jaguar works driver, multiple British champion. Ahead is Harvey, down to the chicane. The order is Needle Bristow car leading, Alan Gravett second, Harvey and Sears third, and Percy and Edwards, there it is, in fourth position. Redgate. Tim Harvey, the sports car champion, is really having a hard time with Percy big in his mirrors. They're coming up to lap Pierre Dieudonne, the Belgian driver in the Fina Sierra, down to the Craner curves. Harvey absolutely on the edge. Win Percy's going through. Win Percy goes through and takes that third position. Beautiful bit of driving. Now up to McLean's, and Percy is pulling away. He's got the momentum. Terrific drive. Number 7, Tim Harvey, back in fourth position. Well, never mind, Tim. Your team car is in the lead, and there it is. Last lap, Tiff Needell is coming in to win with Lawrence Bristow, who is there in the pits waiting for Tiff to come home. Into the chicane. A really fine drive by Tiff Needell, one of Britain's best drivers, who's never really had the breaks his great talent deserves. And just as well deserved a shared win for Lawrence Bristow, his first in the SO British Touring Car Championship, and I'm sure not his last, as Tiff triumphantly goes round his run-down lap.
Excellent race, which wasn't quite over because Guy Edwards and Win Percy were disqualified from that third place, which moved Tim Harvey and David Sears into third and allowed Frank Sittner and Will Hoy into the top 6. Edwards handing over to Percy instead of the nominated second driver Johnny Dumfries was deemed to be illegal. For the third time this season, John Cleland won Class C, and the 16-valve Astras were once again dominant in this class. But initially for Cleland, he was put under a surprising amount of pressure from the Volkswagen of Barry Williams, partnering John Morris. But Cleland, who was partnered with Ian Flux, wouldn't be looking nervously in his mirror for much longer. The Golf fell by the wayside, and Cleland was on his way to another class win, which reinforced his position as championship leader. And Louise Aitken-Walker's second position behind him reinforced Vauxhall's stranglehold on Class C. Phil Dowsett was once again successful in Class D, that despite a poor pit stop with a lot of time being lost when a tyre change went wrong. It was Dowsett himself taking over for this second stint from Mark Goddard, and Dowsett was left with a full 45 seconds to make up on Tony Crudgington. He was gaining rapidly when Crudgington went out with a puncture. Dowsett well placed in the championship, but with a problem.
The problem is, we're out of finance. We won't be at Thruxton unless something comes forward. We've got to find some money now to continue. There's a lot of people pulling for us, but we need more finance now to carry on.
The big budgets are all in Class A, and with Class A victory going to 4 different drivers in the first 4 races, it's left to John Cleland and the consistent 16-valve Vauxhall Astra to take a 6-point lead in the championship. A view that betrays the airfield origins of the 2.3-mile Thruxton circuit, home of the British Automobile Racing Club. For the SO British Touring Car Championship, 4 rounds, 4 winners, but not the dominance of last year's Caliber Sierras. Guy Edwards has crashed in practice. He's out of the race. Bad luck continues for Andy Rouse's team.
We had quite a bad race at Donington for a variety of reasons, and we figured that was going to be the lowest point. And from here onwards, our luck was going to go up, you know. But practice has gone okay for my car, you know, on the front row, in with a good chance. So hopefully we can do the business today, but it's unfortunate the guy's not going to be there to help me.
Surprise winner of the last Thruxton round, Dave Brodie, a driver without the big budget and big support of his rivals. A fact he's far from reluctant to emphasise.
Well, these turkeys, they're going to have to start get up early in the morning if they want to take me and my team on, right? They turn up with their big transporters and their good-looking motorhomes. They prance around the paddock all day long in their overalls, right? But when it comes to get the business done, they're a bunch of wallies apart from Andy.
Brodie's much improved performance had led to protests from other teams that he was running on illegal fuel. He claims his advantage is not octane, but experience.
26 years of driving saloon cars, right? There's only one person in this paddock that's ever been in front of me, and that's Andy Rouse. The rest of them are a bunch of Group N drivers, right? And why should they be in front of me? They never did before. Why should they do it now? I mean, Guy Edwards had more spins and rock around the clock. Frank Sittner's had more rolls than Joe's Chilk Corner Cafe, right? And what sort of an example is that to set the public? I think it's diabolical. I've never seen driving, 26 years driving saloon cars, I've never seen such pitiful, ridiculous driving like it in my life. It's no good to us doing anything other than winning. I don't mind a close second or a close third, but we come here to win. That's our business.
So things more than a little fired up for this 5th round of the championship, and Dave Brodie is true to his word, having claimed pole position from the driver he admires. In fact, having qualified almost a second faster than Andy Rouse. Second row, Rob Gravett, winner of the opening round, and Tim Harvey in the Labatt Sierra. Guy Edwards had qualified on the 3rd row but had no chance of making the race after his practice crash, but Mike Newman, he qualified well. Carl Jones and Graham Good make up the 4th row. Rows 5 and 6, and behind them, James Weaver in the BMW M3 had qualified just ahead of his Class B rival Frank Sittner, John Cleland, the leading qualifier from Class C, Phil Dowsett in Class D. Round 5 of the SO British Touring Car Championship. Once again, we hear from Murray Walker.
As Dave Brodie in the white Sierra and Andy Rouse on the right follow the pace car round for the rolling start. It's really hot at Thruxton. 17 laps at over 100 miles an hour. They're going to be tough on the tyres. Brodie won last time and Rouse the time before, but no one's won twice this year, as off they go. Round 5 is go, and it's Andy Rouse leading. Brodie going through though. Brodie going through on the inside at the right-hander at Allard. Rouse hits the grass and it's Brodie. But Brodie weaving is really putting the power down. Into the right-hander at Campbell, the left-hander at Cobb. Now up to Seagrave. Brodie, Rouse, Gravett and Harvey. And now we're in car with Frank Sittner in the BMW. David Pinkney goes off. David Pinkney in the Ford Sierra Cosworth goes off. Comes from Harpenden, and he's really got a struggle on his hands now. He's got to get back into the race. Meantime, up at the front, there are 6 Sierra Cosworths. Dave Brodie, Rouse, Gravett, Harvey, Jones and Mike Newman. And the winners of the first 3 rounds are 1st, 2nd and 3rd. And Rob Gravett in the red and white Sierra is challenging Andy Rouse for 2nd place. Closing right up on him. A long drag down to the chicane at over 150 miles an hour. Brodie in front, Rouse closes up into the chicane. It's Brodie, then Rouse, Gravett, Harvey, Jones, Newman, absolutely together. Over the line. And look for Carl Jones there with the yellow headlamps. It's an amazing drive. In this morning's qualifying, he was harpooned by Guy Edwards, and he's had to rebuild the car. There he is. Up to the complex. Brodie leading by 1.5 seconds. Gravett is challenging Rouse for 2nd place. Harvey, then Jones, Newman, and Jerry Marney in the white Sierra in 7th place. Now up to Seagrave, and Gravett is attacking again. Village, and Gravett is passing Rouse up into 2nd place. Gravett goes through, Rouse goes down to 3rd position, and there is Gravett ahead of Andy Rouse. Now, is he going to pull away? The cartel car has got terrific speed, but Rouse is fighting back. He's closing up on the rear wheel of Gravett's Ford Sierra Cosworth. He's responding down to the chicane. Brodie leads, Gravett 2nd, Rouse 3rd, and Jones and Newman. Look, they are ahead of Harvey. End of the lap. Over the line. And Brodie leads, Gravett 2nd, Rouse 3rd, then it's Jones, Newman, Harvey. And the dust is kicked up. Now we're in car with Jerry Marney, Harvey ahead in 6th position. Down through the box into second gear for Campbell Corner. And now Cobb, the left-hander. Out of Cobb, the leaders go through. And there is Graham Good and Lawrence Bristow, the Donington winner, with Mike Smith right behind him, and Mike Smith is going through. Smith goes through to take 9th position from Lawrence Bristow. And here is Bristow. Mike Smith on the right. Nice one, Mike. He's through and up a place. So Mike Smith on his way, chasing his teammate Rob Gravett, and Ian Forrest's BMW M3 is out of the race onto the grass. Crudgington and Dowsett coming down together towards the chicane, and Dowsett is starting to challenge. He's going to try and take, yes, here we are, in car with Dowsett. He's going through on the inside. He goes through on the inside. He takes Crudgington. That is Brodie coming up behind both of them. And behind Brodie, there is Gravett. Over the line now. Brodie takes both of them. And now it's Rob Gravett's turn. Up to Campbell, the right-hander, after they have cleared the left sweep that they're into now. Brodie approaches Campbell. Dowsett and Crudgington behind him, and Rob Gravett is about to take them both. But Crudgington is right up alongside Dowsett. He's going to take the lead, and Gravett is going to take them both right on the apex, and they hit each other. Dowsett, oh my goodness! A full 360-degree spin, the wheel is off, the grass has caught fire. But Rob Gravett looks at Dowsett out, up onto the bank. Gravett is out of the car. Miraculously, they are both perfectly okay. As the fire marshals slip on the grass, they're going to have to jump down onto the bank to set about the fire. They've got it out already. Well done indeed. That's a very nasty accident. But amazingly, Phil Dowsett looks perfectly all right. So now let's have a look at it from his point of view again. There is Dave Brodie in front. We're turning into the right-hander, and there is Gravett. Slam bang into the tyre wall, and Dowsett does the same thing. Thank heavens for that protection. And now Crudgington leads Class D. Rouse is right up behind him, number 1, second in the race. And then it's Harvey and Newman really close to each other, and this is Mike Smith on the right trying to lap Lawrence Bristow. And they've touched each other at the chicane, and Bristow is off, nearly hits the pit lane Armco. Miraculous recovery. And there on the left is Mike Smith. Away he goes. And Mike Smith has got the momentum. He's pulling away. But Lawrence Bristow may have been lapped, but he isn't giving in. And watch that turbo gauge needle, the big white one. He's definitely reeling Mike Smith in again. And that is the BARC rescue unit. Now, the British Automobile Racing Club runs Thruxton, and everything you need for a rescue is in that vehicle. Medical equipment, cutters, resuscitation gear, and they're deliberately leaving the vehicle there to protect them while they rush up to see if Gravett's okay. Well, he is okay. He's out of the car, actually. And there he is. But he must have a very sore neck. Now, let's have a replay. On the left is Crudgington, then it's Dowsett, on the right is Gravett. Gravett turns in, there is contact, straight onto the grass, into the tyre wall. Dowsett does the same thing, 360-degree spin from Rob Gravett. The wheel is off, the back is up, and the grass catches fire. That could have been very, very nasty indeed. And Dave Brodie is slowing. There he is. And that is Andy Rouse going through. He's gone from 3rd to 1st. And Tim Harvey is really close to him. There is Rouse, and there is Harvey. Now, I wonder what's wrong with Brodie. There's the answer. Look at the left rear wheel. There is no tyre there. He's driving on the rim. Dave Brodie trying to get back. Now, there is Rouse leading. Harvey in 2nd place, right behind him. Mike Newman in 3rd position, number 3. And Carl Jones goes past Brodie up into 4th position. What a fantastic development as Dave Brodie rattles into the pit lane on his rear rim. Lap 14, there's 3 laps to go after this, and Rouse and Harvey with their headlights blazing to warn people that they're coming through. Can Tim Harvey catch and pass Andy Rouse? There is Rouse, there is Harvey. It's getting closer and closer all the time. That is Dave at it. Almost finished now. Just tighten up the nut and Dave Brodie can get away, but he's really out of the running altogether. And a Goodwood on the way to Village Corner at 130 miles an hour. Past the last of the tail-enders goes Tim Harvey, and now on the fastest part of the course he can attack Andy Rouse and go for the lead. Round Brooklands, the left-hander, down to the chicane, and at the chicane there is less than a second between the first and second places, Andy Rouse and Tim Harvey. Much less than a second now. Out of the chicane, up towards Allard. Rouse goes over the line. Harvey goes, and the checkered flag is out. They're stopping the race. Now that must be because of the accident further ahead. They're all slowing down. So lucky for Andy Rouse. He wins, the first man to win twice this season. Tim Harvey second, just as he looked likely to win, and Mike Newman third. And no wonder they stopped it. That's a real fire hazard. So, overall victory for Andy Rouse, with Tim Harvey in second place, Mike Newman third, Carl Jones in fourth position, Mike Smith fifth, and Sean Walker sixth, after a really exciting race.
And a race that had a finish that came as a surprise to many and a relief to Andy Rouse. Luck had been on his side at last.
Was the race shortened? Yeah, Gravett had a bad one out.
Yeah, I know,
yes.
So. Well, that wasn't bad, was it?
The luck has changed.
I think so, yeah, for the better, fortunately. Well, that was hard going.
Was the checkered flag a complete surprise? What were things like down at the complex?
Well, the accident occurred about 7 laps before the end, and I thought the situation had been stabilised, but apparently, talking to the clerk of the course, there was fuel spilling out of one of the cars and running across the track, and that's what prompted the decision. But I thought things were stabilised, so I was watching the laps to go sign and planning the rest of the race, but there you are.
So you can't feel aggrieved at the decision, but unlucky nevertheless?
No, on safety grounds it was the right thing to do, but I'm sure my turn will come.
Rob Gravett was to bounce back from that near disaster at Thruxton to take victory in the next round on the short circuit at Silverstone. Tim Harvey and Andy Rouse trailing in just a second and a half behind. And this was the round where John Cleland suffered a blow to his overall championship hopes after losing a wheel. The championship, after all its dramas, was settling into a mid-season pattern. Sittner agreed to give his support to Weaver's championship challenge, and in the Silverstone Grand Prix round, an emphatic victory for Andy Rouse. The really close racing in this round was back down the field.
But who is going to be 10th? At Stowe it's Mike Smith, or is it because Jerry Marnie's going through? It's Marnie 10th at the moment. Smith on the right. In car with Marnie. Smith is gaining. Smith goes through. Club corner now. And Smith is ahead. It's Smith in the red-white car, 10th. Marnie behind him in 11th position. Coming up to Abbey for the last time, and Marnie is going for it. He can come out of Smith's slipstream. He's doing it. Down through the gearbox. Marnie ahead. Smith coming through to take him on the outside. He's going to go very wide indeed. Marnie's got the inside line. He hits Smith. Smith shakes his fist. But Mike Smith takes that 10th position, no doubt about it, into the chicane, out of the chicane. Mike Smith in 10th position. And now let's have a look at it again from Jerry Marnie's point of view. Racing up to Bridge with Mike Smith on the right at 145 miles an hour. He looks right. Where is he? He looks left and he's there. Mike Smith on the left. Bang! He hits him. But overall, a superb win for Andy Rouse, with Rob Gravett second place, consolidating his class lead in the championship. And a super comeback drive for Guy Edwards, ahead of teammates Tim Harvey and Lawrence Bristow, with at last a points finish for Graham Good.
So the overall championship coming into round 8, the first of the Brands Hatch rounds. A 2-point gap between Weaver and Cleland, Dowsett hanging on from Class D in third, and Rob Gravett leading Class A, but 15 points adrift overall. But Gravett was on pole at Brands, he headed the race, but his teammate was heavily involved behind. Tiff Niddell, the commentator.
Down on the Grand Prix circuit, then Gravett getting way out front, but now it's Harvey ahead of Smith. Rouse breathing easy. No, through. Smith comes back. He wants that third place straight back again, and he takes it off Harvey. Running a bit wide there, and Harvey maybe looking to get the place back. They touch, and Smith punted sideways. Harvey and he both head for the gravel trap, and well, that's a great shame to lose what looked a very promising battle between these two drivers out so early in the race. Mike Smith there, not getting out yet. Maybe, yes, he is going to try and escape from the gravel, but there's no escape from those gravel traps. We see it again now in slow motion. Smith a little bit slow out of Hawthorne's there because he did that overtaking manoeuvre, but Harvey not really getting even alongside in the braking zone before there's contact between the two. And really, I think Tim was being a bit over-ambitious there. Smith had the line. There we see Tim Harvey now clambering over the tire. Well, I'm sure they'll both have very, very different versions of what's just happened. But and into the tyre barriers, two BMWs. That was Godfrey Hall, I think, first in. That's the top of Paddock Hill, and a very bent BMW for Ian Forrest. That right at the top of Paddock Hill bend. There's tyres and debris all over the circuit. I should imagine this could well be a red flag situation, really. Those cars are going to take some moving. Ian Forrest, thankfully, getting out and walking away from his bent BMW, and Godfrey Hall already out of his car. And there you can see the damage, and I think this race will have to be stopped. Indeed, yes, there's the red flag that's shown at the start-finish line. They only show the red flag at the start-finish line. Drivers are warned about it by the black flag there being waved, and they won't be doing any overtaking now. In car with Jerry Barney being overtaken once, but overtaken twice.
Black flag now, man. You don't have to flag me. You know, right, that's it, we are from that flag.
I think Jerry's got the message over to his fellow competitors. Here we see the excellent rescue services in action, but here we see Godfrey Hall heading towards the barriers. The wheels actually were locked up from well before impact, and I think coming over the slight crest at Paddock, the cars do go light. He probably locked his rear wheels and lost control. Now back to the gravel trap. These cars, if they can get them back on the grid, could be re-racing.
Well, we're going to see if we can get another chance. I guess. I don't know what the rules are, we're going to check on it, but if I can get this back, we will get going again. That was a stupid manoeuvre on Tim's part. I'd have never seen him driving like that.
Here you go.
He wants it all his own way. He wants to have the room to overtake, but he doesn't want it to give the room anybody else. It's just ridiculous. Anyway. I'm not the first person to have clashed swords with Mike Smith this year, and I don't suppose I'll be the last. It's just amazing how often he's involved, and it's never his fault.
Well, every driver always has his opinion, and here we see this slow motion again, and certainly Smith is ahead, he's on the right line, and it's Harvey that batters into the rear wing of Smith's car, just really at the beginning of the braking area. This time it really was Mike's line, I'm afraid, Tim.
Restart race, once again Gravett out front, and Mike Smith mounting a really strong challenge on Andy Rouse.
Through Drew, it's bumper to bumper. Smith really driving a very sensible race at the moment. He's waiting for Rouse to maybe slide a little wide once too often, and he's going to be through here in a good position to overtake up to 30s. But no, Rouse, I said no, but Mike Smith sees an opportunity, saw the door left open. He didn't refuse the invitation. In he goes. In car with Andy Rouse, dropped down to third place. This long haul, the only straight you really get at Brands Hatch, fifth gear as they approach Hawthorne's, down to fourth. Into this 110-mile-an-hour corner. Rouse accelerating hard now in fourth. He's going to brake and drop to third for Westfield. Smith easing away all the time. So really that was a good overtaking manoeuvre, very cleanly done by Mike Smith, and he's up into an excellent, he leaps over Dingle-Dell. That's the curve that you shouldn't go over, Mike, and you can see now how Andy Rouse has suddenly closed back up on again Mike, because he just clipped that curve. But again, Rouse sliding wide, working very, very hard indeed. Clearways, again, third gear. Mike takes a very neat line through. Andy Rouse follows as close as he can, but now it's a cartel 1-2 as these Australian imported Sierras show Andy Rouse the way. There's been a battle between these Dick Johnson prepared cars that have come up from Australia to challenge the all-conquering Andy Rouse engineering cars, which of course Rouse runs, and so do the Labatt's team. So it's a Rouse car 3rd and 4th, but it's the Yokohama tired team out front. Here, midfield battle, there's still plenty. That's Lawrence Bristow coming well up the field. Jerry Marnie ahead of him, and ahead of Marnie, Dave Pinkney, who suddenly pulls to the side. Pinkney going very well, the best he's run for a while, but he's just pulled off wide as Bristow tries the long outside line. It's a very difficult line to take, and it doesn't pay off. And Mike O'Brien looks to come up and retake Lawrence Bristow, but Lawrence really stormed up through the field, up to 12th place, right from the back of the grid, through all the Class Ds, Cs, and even up past the BMWs. So Lawrence Bristow, a charging drive. He's had a trying day, but now he's looking to get this place off Marnie. Marnie, of course, a front runner last year, but not so far this year. Up front, though, we have Smith and Rouse. Rouse still keeping a look at Smith's rear of the Sierras. Gravett's disappearing further and further away, but Andy would like that place back if possible. Back the field we go, and here we see again Bristow chasing after Marnie, looking on the inside of Surtees and shoveling Marnie around. Marnie goes wide, Bristow looks to the left. I don't think that's on Lawrence, but it is on. Lawrence, who is charging through, he's driven so well this year. Of course, I enjoyed sharing a win with him at Donington, and now he's charging through the field. He's not going to win this one, but he's going to get a long way at this rate. So Bristow moves up to 11th. Paddock. Marnie, as I've said, he's been playing around with tyres this year. Last year he was up the front, now he's switched to Pirellis, but he hasn't quite got the car handling to the way he likes on these tyres. Bristow and the Andy Rouse engineering car, though, he's on Pirellis as well, pulling away from Marnie and looking up the field for 7th, 8th or 9th places. And Lawrence, steady. That's going wide out of Graham Hill Bend. Down midfield, we see there the Maserati Bi-Turbo make a return to the series, Nick May, but obviously in trouble as Smith and Rouse go past. This battle for 2nd place still being waged, and it's a very tricky track. It's a long, hard race in this heat, but Rouse following Smith. Smith there having to get the back markers. This is where experience, of course, is going to tell. Andy Rouse knows a lot about overtaking back markers, and Mike Smith relatively inexperienced compared with Rouse, and there you see he's lost the speed coming out of Surtees. Rouse is looking up the inside, and Mike gives him space, and certainly that was gentlemanly driving by Mike. He did give Rouse the space. Smith lost time overtaking the back marker left-hander. He didn't have the speed out towards clearways. Rouse pounced on the moment, and through he goes to take 2nd place back off Smith. So can Smith now counter-attack? Through Paddock, and Rouse sliding wide. Gravett there we see flash through the picture into Druids. Quite a fair lead, and Smith now is all to do again. We've seen this picture before. And there we see Lawrence Bristow. He's sliced past Carl Jones, and in the background also Mike Newman. So that's 2 more Sierras he's overtaken after we saw him get past Marnie, and he's now right up into 8th place and going very strongly indeed. From the back of the grid, Lawrence Bristow up to 8th. Out of Druids, down through Graham Hill Bend. Again using every inch of the track, and this time not that extra bit. Behind him we see the BMW boys still doing battle for the Class B honours. Of course, now Weaver well in front of the championship ahead of Sittner in the Class B, so really Sittner now should be holding station. But however much you have agreements before the race, drivers never trust drivers. But Frank seems to be a lot more friendly than he was at the beginning of the year. Down to Hawthorns, the 6-speed gearboxes used in these BMWs. 6th down to 5th for Hawthorns. And we see really sitting up, not really working as hard as he was at the beginning of the year. And these two now in convoy and mainly trying to make sure that De Weaver wins the class, has fastest lap, and makes enough points for this championship challenge that they're putting up. Up to Dingledell, James Weaver going so well, Frank Sittner following behind. On there, sadly, that's one of the Sierras out. That's Graham Good, who was running in the top 10, but sadly the end of the race, and a spin. Nick May having more problems with the Maserati, and he's right on the apex. He wants a push. He's stalled the car, and our marshals as ever moving forward to help out. In car with Guy having a very big moment there, under braking for Surtees, that is, and trying to get the right gear, dumping the clutch, the wheels spin, opposite lock. So a little bit of a moment under braking for Guy Edwards, who nevertheless is holding down a very consistent and steady 5th place. Gravett, though, well out front. There we see the order: Gravett, Rouse, Smith, Harvey, Edwards 5th, and Mike Newman going well in 6th. Well, we say Harvey, but Harvey there we see the very battered and bent, war-torn Sierra. Obviously a bit of a problem for Tim, and maybe some damage has caused some engine trouble or overheating. So that's the end of Harvey's challenge. But here we have Rob Gravett on the last lap through Hawthorns, and it's been a very, very good drive. We haven't seen much of him, but he's made the most of his very well-prepared Trackstar team car. He's made the most of his Yokohama tyres, which have obviously come good this weekend, as we've seen Mike Smith doing such a strong supporting performance in this team. And really, this swing-swong battle between Andy Rouse there, not giving up, whereas we see Rob Gravett virtually cruising to the line. Andy Rouse is going to try all he can right to the last minute, and certainly Gravett's lost a lot of his lead over the last laps as Gravett's toured in. But Rouse, in his charge, has dropped Mike Smith behind a bit. Smith, although still heading for an excellent 3rd, but it's Rob Gravett who steals the honours. A very good win indeed, ahead of Rouse. And there, the Trackstar team cheering Mike Smith over for a very good 3rd place indeed. And Lawrence Bristow charged up. He eventually got 6th place.
Lawrence Bristow's charge through the field emphasised also the pace, power and fierce competition among the Class A cars. Bristow in 6th place behind Mike Newman. The Caliber team had taken 2nd and 4th, but the Trackstar team were 1st and 3rd with Rob Gravett and Mike Smith. Snetterton the next round, Rob Gravett heading for another victory, and 2 laps to go. It's Rouse and Harvey battling for 2nd.
In car again with Tim, and Tim working really hard indeed. There's no worry about tyre grip now. It's go for everything you've got. There's only a couple of laps left, and Tim wants that 2nd place. Gravett still has the problems of back markers to get past inside the Vauxhall tandem. And all 3 leaders bottling up as we lead up to the last lap. Harvey working hard to stay on Rouse's tail, following him through the holes. Rouse punching the holes in the back markers, and Tim Harvey staying right on his bumper and following him through. Gravett looks safe out front at the moment, and Harvey all over the back of Andy Rouse, into Russell. Again, we're back over those curbs again. Harvey more so than Rouse on this occasion. So Rob Gravett has the breathing space. It's really all about 2nd place at the moment between Rouse and Harvey through Riches. Both cars are out onto the rumble strips. This time Rouse blocks to the right. He doesn't want Harvey coming through on the inside again. Gravett is safe. Harvey now tries to concentrate on getting the power down, having forced Andy onto the inside. Andy a bit slower out of Sear, and Harvey now right in his slipstream as they come up to the S's. Down the straight, Harvey looking up the inside, a late manoeuvre on the brakes. Rouse is hanging on the outside. Side by side they are. Will Tim hold on? No, he had to give way to Rouse. Rouse had the inside line for the right-handed corner. He holds the 2nd place. Through the bomb hole, into Coram now. Rouse a little bit of a breathing space. Again, more back markers ahead, but there's going to be no problems. It's only Russell Corner before the flag, and another victory for Rob Gravett. The Trackstar team really coming out on top at the moment. A win for Gravett, Rouse fighting in 2nd, and a very good drive from Harvey in 3rd.
4th win of the season for Rob Gravett, but only a 2nd covering the first 3. Will Hoy in 4th, making it another excellent race for the Trackstar team. Lawrence Bristow 5th, Sean Walker 6th. Class A is certainly where the racing is and where the interest is. And Gravett, against a lot of expectations, seems to have taken a grip on the competition. An 18-point lead over Rouse, and Rouse-prepared cars fill the next 2 places. So after 9 rounds, it's still a 2-point gap between Weaver of Class B and Cleland of Class C, with Rob Gravett having moved up to 3rd overall and leading the field round the warm-up lap for round 10 at Brands Hatch.
It is very hot. Brands Hatch is a superb circuit with just about every kind of corner and gradient. There are 6 very closely matched Ford Sierra Cosworths in the front 3 rows of the rolling grid, using 3 different makes of tyre. And Andy Rouse on the left is in pole position. This will be good. Into Paddock Bend, it's Rouse leading, Gravett 2nd, Brodie in 3rd place, Lawrence Bristow is 4th. Now up Halewood Rise into Druids and Van Cowan. runs very wide indeed. Now we're looking back from Rob Gravett's car. Brodie's ahead, that's Lawrence Bristow immediately behind. He's in 4th position. So now, out of Druids, there they go, the Class C and D men. And somebody's hit Rossiter. Rossiter's Astra, there it is, pushed out of the race. And now, down they go, round Graham Hill Bend, and there's another one. It's Jerry Marney. Jerry Marney's Ford Sierra out. And at Surtees, they stream round that Sean Walker. And ahead of him, it's Rouse, Brodie, Gravett, Bristow. Over the crest, Pilgrim's Drop. And Gravett takes Brodie up into 2nd place. Now we look back, and that is Dave Brodie right behind us at 120 miles an hour. Into Hawthorne Bend and out of it. Down to Westfield. And you can just see Bristow's car behind in 4th position. There it is, and he's challenging. Lawrence Bristow challenging Dave Brodie, who holds 3rd position. So it's Cosworth's 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, Stirling's Bend, Rouse, Gravett, Brodie smoking a bit. Lawrence Bristow behind him in 4th position. On to Clearways, where with Lawrence Bristow, watch his gear changes. Up into 5th, back into 3rd. And ahead it's Rouse, the leader. Gravett in 2nd place. Dave Brodie, they're well spread out down the Brabham Straight. 130 miles an hour over the line. Rouse, Gravett. Into Paddock. And that's Thomas Becerra, the Czechoslovakian driver, in the blue car, being chased by Carl Jones, 9th and 10th. Jerry Marney back in the race, and here's what happened on Cooper Straight. Ahead is Graham Good. Jerry drifts a bit, hits the grass, loses traction, spins off, but he'll be back. Surtees Bend, Andy Rouse right behind him, Rob Gravett. And not so far behind them, Dave Brodie, Lawrence Bristow, Mike Smith, there they are, all together. And as Mike Smith chases them down Pilgrim's Drop, Bristow goes past Brodie, up into 3rd position. And there is Andy Rouse, chasing him, Rob Gravett. Now the gap, 3 together. Bristow is the 3rd man, but here are the leaders. And Rob Gravett is pushing Andy Rouse very hard indeed. Out of Westfield, onto Dingledell, through Dingledell corner. Right, left, right, and leaping over the curving, it's Bristow. Carl Jones goes off and out of the race, parks alongside the Armco. The leaders on their way to Clearways, and here they are, Rob Gravett attacking Andy Rouse at 130 miles an hour as they go down the Brabham Straight over the line. Rouse leads, Gravett 2nd, Bristow in 3rd position. Then it's Brodie, Smith, Guy Edwards into Paddock. And now Mike Smith is right up with Dave Brodie. 4th position. Rouse, Gravett, Bristow, Brodie and Mike Smith attacking in the red and white Sierra round Druids. In car with Mike Smith down to Graham Hill Bend. 3rd gear, 85 miles an hour. Up towards Surtees, the left-hander. Mike going through the gears. Got a bit of loose trim on the bumper there. Over the crest, out of Surtees. Brodie runs a bit wide, and this is Mike Smith's opportunity. Has he lost it because he had momentum there? But Dave Brodie stays ahead, but not for very much longer because Smith is going through. No, he's not. Brodie holds him off as they go into the right-hander, and now down the short straight to Westfield. Brodie and Smith ahead of them. Rouse, Gravett, Bristow. Terrific scrap here for 4th position. And you can see Bristow, there he is as he goes through Stirling's, the left-hander. 3rd, 4th and 5th almost together. Here are the leaders. Rob Gravett slingshotting out of the right-hander at Clark Curve. Down the straight, he tucks in very tight to the Armco. Into Paddock, Rouse, the leader. Gravett in 2nd place. Now then, Rob Gravett's won 4 races already. Andy Rouse has won 3 races. Is he going to even it by staying ahead of Rob Gravett? They're coming out of Druids. Dropping down to Graham Hill Bend. Rob Gravett in an ideal position to attack here. He's close up behind the wing of Andy Rouse. Rouse's car as they go into Surtees, the left-hander. He's going through on the inside. Rob Gravett taking the lead from Andy Rouse. He's got the line. Andy has to run wide. Look back, there he is. 145 miles an hour. Pilgrims to Hawthorne, the right-hander, which they're approaching now, underneath the bridge. This is Hawthorne. There is Andy Rouse behind in second position. You can read the word Andy on his number plate. Now, from Hawthorne's to Westfield, the right-hander. Look at this. Terrific. You can see Andy Rouse's car pitching on the suspension. Now this is Dingledell, through Dingledell corner. Over the curb, over the curb, over the curb. Now down to the left-hander at Stirling's. From Stirling's down into Clearways. And Rob Gravett is leading. Is he going to stay ahead? No, he's not, because Andy Rouse goes through. And Rob Gravett slows down. What has happened? He slowed right down. And now Bristow goes past to second place past Rob Gravett. Dave Brodie and Mike Smith go past third and fourth, and poor Rob Gravett is going to be out of the race. He's touring alongside the pits. And he pulls off. Why? Well, who knows? The car looks all right. This is how Andy Rouse saw it. Just a puff of smoke from Gravett's car there. Closes right up on the Ford and past. What on earth happened?
The gear lead was broken, the gearbox was broken. So that was it, no gears.
And that is rotten luck for Rob, who was certainly looking good for a fifth win. So now, Rouse leads, Bristow second, Brodie third, Smith fourth, Edwards fifth, and Sean Walker in sixth place, and somebody off. It's Dave Pinkney's Sierra, and that looks like a very expensive bit of Armco thumping. All the bodywork battered. Is Dave Pinkney battered? No, he's not. He's out of the car. He's perfectly all right. And there's another one. John Clark's BMW M3, and that is an excellent recovery. Two more BMWs there. Number 35, Ian Forrest, giving last year's British champion Frank Sidner a very hard time. Battling for second in Class B with the BMW of James Weaver ahead of them, leading the class. Sidner, Forrest. There ahead is James Weaver, class leader and championship leader in his BMW. Druids, great fight for second place. Bristow's got it at the moment. Brodie just behind it. This is Mike Smith, down to Graham Hill Bend at well over 100 miles an hour. And Mike is still recovering from a broken ankle from that very nasty helicopter crash. Down into second gear for the left-hander at Surtees. Brodie, Mike Smith tucked right up behind him. Brodie's gone onto the curb. Now Mike Smith's opportunity. He's got the momentum. Can he get through? There's Dave Brodie in front. And he staves Mike Smith off as they go into Hawthorne. So it's still Bristow, Brodie, Mike Smith. And it looks as though they're catching Lawrence Bristow in second position. That's the winner of the 1 hour race at Donington, the man who drove with Tiff Needell. But through Dingledell they go. Lapping number 83, the veteran Tony Lanfranchi in the Astra. 1, 2, 3, past Lanfranchi they go, and Guy Edwards is catching Mike Smith. Down to Clearways, Rouse is still ahead. Bristow second, Brodie third, Smith fourth, Guy Edwards in fifth position. Into paddock. Now there is Rouse. Here is the battle for second position. Bristow, Brodie and Smith. 7 laps to go, and Smith and Brodie most definitely are catching Lawrence Bristow in the Blue Sierra. Up to Druids, number 6, Bristow, second place. Brodie takes a look on the right-hand side, dodges back, hugs the curb. Bristow runs very wide on the exit, and that gives Dave Brodie the chance to close up. He's right up alongside him, going round the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. He's still there as they come up to Surtees, but Bristow has got the inside line, and surely he must get away. But no, Brodie is hanging on, and Mike Smith is going through behind him too. Brodie goes up into second place, Mike Smith goes up into third. We're riding with Lawrence Bristow. There goes Brodie. There is Smith. And he is through up into third position. And so in just Edwards. There is Guy Edwards in 5th place, and he's gaining on the 3 ahead as they go through to lap Les Lydiard's Toyota. And just look how close Guy Edwards is. Now we're in car with Lawrence Bristow. Immediately ahead is Mike Smith. Just ahead of him is Dave Brodie. Down the Brabham Straight at 130 miles an hour on towards Paddock Bend. Down through the gears. Tuck in tight to the apex. Hit the apex, but Bristow's dropping back a bit as they go up Halewood Rise into Druids. Number 19, Dave Brodie. He's had his problems this season. He's got one now. It's Mike Smith, and that's Alan Minshaw retiring his Volkswagen Golf, and it looks as though the right front tyre is rubbing the bodywork. Now that's Ray Arms, that's another retirement, the Honda Civic, but I must say he hasn't parked in a very sensible place. He's right on the tarmac on the Brabham Straight. Couldn't he have pulled over further onto the grass? And the leaders are bearing down on him. Rouse has gone by. There's Brodie, chased by Smith, and Bristow has got Edwards right in his slipstream. Guy Edwards putting across to try and pass Bristow, and he only just misses Arms' Honda Civic. That was a very close thing, and Guy Edwards goes through. Edwards up into 4th position, but not for long. He's run very wide indeed. Out onto the runoff, and Lawrence Bristow is back in 4th. Number 6 Bristow up into 4th position, and Guy Edwards has got it all to do again. Coming down to Graham Hill Bend. Along the bottom straight, so cool, into Surtees, and Guy Edwards is doing it. He's back with Bristow already. Drop. Brodie and Smith are catching Jeff Kimber Smith's Toyota. Behind them, Bristow and Edwards. Out of Hawthorne. Brodie past Kimber Smith. Smith past Kimber Smith. No, he's lost it! And Kimber Smith hits him. That contact, that is a big one. Thomas Metzera goes through. And that was so sudden, I suspect something broke. And from the look of that wheel, it was the rear suspension, and Guy Edwards is out too, Andy Rouse's teammate. Mike Smith getting out of the car. What a pity, because that was a great drive. And you can see how he's still limping. Mike looks at the car, and now here's a replay. In car with Mike Smith, chasing Dave Brodie. Catching Jeff Kimber Smith's Toyota. Brodie in front. Brodie goes past. Smith goes past. Loses it. Fights it. But that was most certainly not Mike Smith's fault. And the innocent Jeff Kimber Smith powers on to the body shop. So, how did Kimber Smith see that big crunch? Just like this. We're with it. There goes Brodie. And whoops, there's Mike Smith. Off onto the grass, but no problem. On we go. And Jeff Kimber Smith shakes his head. I bet that made his glasses mister. And now the adopted Australian Thomas Metzera, the winner of last year's Bathurst 1000 and a Brands Hatch racing instructor, is in 3rd place. Number 6, Lawrence Bristow, his teammate ahead of him. So this is a great race for the 2 Labatt's men. They are almost together, 2nd and 3rd, Bristow and Metzera, the 2 blue cars. Last lap, Andy Rouse, the man from Warwickshire, has led every lap. And he's going to win. He's put up the fastest lap of 100.27 miles an hour. He's just lapped Mike O'Brien, number 17 there. He's got his headlights blazing to let the people know he's coming through. Into Dingledell Corner for the last time. Up to Stirling's for the last time. He's now just got that little short straight after Stirling's as the back of the car steps out and Andy corrects it to go into the right-hander at Clearways, which leads into Clark Curve. Another win for the touring car champion of champions, Andy Rouse, but even more important than that, 9 points for victory.
So Andy Rouse levels the score over Rob Gravett, 4 wins apiece. Excellent race for the Labatt's team, 2nd and 3rd via Bristow and Metzera. Sean Walker 4th, Mike Newman 5th, and Graham Good 6th. Rouse engineered cars filling the first 3 places, and it could have been 4 if Guy Edwards hadn't joined Mike Smith in the Westfield gravel trap.
Smithy's suspension broke and I had nowhere to go. I had to spin to avoid him. Otherwise I'd have collected him too.
I'm very sorry.
No, it wasn't your fault, was it? I mean, it wasn't. Yeah,
No.
It looked like your wheel collapsed.
Yeah.
Or something like that, so, you know, it's a pity because I think we had a good chance of finishing behind Andy there.
It may be 4 wins apiece, but it's Rob Gravett ahead of Andy Rouse in the Class A Championship. 8 points the difference. Harvey and Bristow 3rd and 4th. So to what's been described as the Monaco of the Midlands, the Birmingham Super Prix round. 2 points still separate Weaver and Cleland in the overall championship, but little will separate Gravett, Rouse and the Labatt's men at the head of the Birmingham field.
Into Holt's corner, the first right-hander. We're in car with Andy Rouse. Rob Gravett ahead, and Tim Harvey passes up into 2nd place. With John Llewellyn in the BMW, chasing Ian Forrest and Godfrey Hall. Out of Holt's corner, through the Munro kink. Godfrey Hall ahead, and there's somebody off. It's Mike Smith. And we've gone past James Weaver, who stopped. And at Halford's corner, it's Rob Gravett leading, Harvey 2nd, then Rouse, Bristow, Hodgetts, Walker and Guy Edwards. Now looking back from race leader Gravett Sierra. And there's Tim Harvey. Andy Rouse behind him. Down the Belgrave middleway at 145 miles an hour. The Mosque receding into the background. Right at Ferodo corner. 3rd gear, 90 miles an hour. Out of Ferodo. Gravett leads. Harvey behind us in 2nd place. Then Andy Rouse, Bristow behind him. And Marnie nearly hits the barrier in the background. To the left-hander at Halford's elbow, 3rd gear, 85 miles an hour. Rob Gravett leads, Tim Harvey behind him. There's Harvey making a challenge. Now out of the Cavendish corner, 1st gear, 40 miles an hour, the slowest on the track. Rob Gravett, Harvey, Rouse, Bristow. We're in car with Andy Rouse in 3rd position, challenging alongside Harvey, through into 2nd position. But Harvey's fighting back. He's got the nose of the Sierra ahead, and he holds the 2nd place. Andy Rouse still 3rd, Bristow in 4th position. Now we're with Rouse again, through the Munro kink. There's only about 50 miles an hour, looks a lot quicker, but now building up to the fastest part of the course. There's Rob Gravett, the leader, and his teammate Mike Smith is in the pits.
One of the gentlemen pushed me into the barrier. Just a big push on the back end and knocked me into the barrier. Just went round. It's done that, and it's done the front end of the car in as well. And the seat broke on impact.
And now let's see how James Weaver saw Mike's accident. And he sees Mike hit Gary Van Cowen Sierra and lose it. And Weaver loses 2 places, down to 4th in Class B. Past goes Godfrey Hall and John Llewellyn. And here's the BMW battle. Hall and Llewellyn. Frank Sidner leads Class B with Good behind him. Now there's Hall in the black BMW, Llewellyn, Weaver, Forrest. Frank Sidner, 11th place. Graham Good chasing him in the Sierra, 12th. And it's all go at the front. Gravett, Harvey, Rouse, Bristow. There's Harvey. 1st at Thruxton, round the 180 degree, 50 mile an hour. Halford's corner, closing right up on us. Going through, is he? Is he? He's right up alongside. He's past us. Harvey goes into the lead, ahead of Rob Gravett. What a fantastic passing manoeuvre, and into Ferodo corner, it's Harvey leading, and now there is Rouse. He's in 3rd place, following us with Rob Gravett. And Rouse is really forcing. You can see the Sierra going by. Is it past? There's Bristow in the background, in 4th position, and Rouse is through. It's Harvey leading, Rouse 2nd, Bristow in 4th position, Gravett is 3rd, and behind them it's Chris Hodgetts in 5th place, Sean Walker is 6th, Guy Edwards is in 7th place, and they're coming through to complete a lap. Bristow, 4th position. Rob Gravett ahead, into the left-hander. And we've hit Gravett. Gravett hits the Armco. Tyre smoke. He's fishtailing. Bristow goes through, up into 3rd position, and that will not have done Rob Gravett's Sierra any good at all. Now, let's have another look. There's Rouse. Gravett, he's hit. He hits the Armco. Let's have a look at it from Gravett's car point of view. There goes Bristow on the right. We've swung right out wide. There's Bristow again. We've hit the Armco, don't forget. And now Bristow goes through and Hodges closes right up. So now it's Harvey leading, Rouse 2nd, Bristow 3rd. Hodges is up into 4th place. There is Gravett in 5th position. Behind him, Sean Walker and Guy Edwards. There's Gravett. Guy Edwards out of Cavendish corner. Coming towards us, Rob Gravett in a very bent Sierra. Looking back from Gravett's car, that is Sean Walker from Elstree in 6th position. Ex-car champion, ex-Sports 2000 champion. He's challenging Gravett, he's going for 5th position, and he takes 5th position. Can Gravett fight back this time like he did before? And the answer is no. Sean Walker holds that 5th position. In car with James Weaver. To retain the overall championship lead, and he's only 4th in his BMW. There is John Llewellyn, 3rd in his class, and Weaver's got to get past him. He's got to get past Godfrey Hall. He has got to get past Frank Sidner to take the class lead in order to benefit his chances in the overall championship. 320 horsepower, left-hand drive, 6 speed, 150 miles an hour almost in parts in the BMW. And John Llewellyn is driving beautifully. He hasn't got the performance, but as I say that, Weaver goes through and Llewellyn keeps his place. Godfrey Hall in the black BMW in front of the white one. Through the Munro kick. Now Peter Marwell Hill, tremendously fast this, up to Halford's corner. Could be James Weaver's chance. He's got the works engine, the ProDrive car. He should have more performance than Llewellyn. Into Halfords. Right down through the gearbox, tucked in tight to the Armco. Godfrey Hall in front. John Llewellyn in the white car. Through the Munro kink. Down the Belgrave bend in middle way, and through goes James Weaver. But it's all action at the front. There is Harvey, number 7, leading. Rouse behind him in 2nd place. Bristow in 3rd. Rocking on the softer suspension that they have to use for this bumpy street circuit. Harvey. Rouse going very wide. In car with Andy Rouse chasing Harvey in front, and immediately behind us is Lawrence Bristow. Just watch the master at work. Watch his hands on the wheel. Watch the gear change. Harvey, Rouse, Bristow, and Andy Rouse keeps showing the nose of his Sierra to Tim Harvey to try and fluster him. But Tim's got a lot of experience, he'll be hard to fluster. Lawrence Bristow is trying to do the same thing to Andy Rouse. 550 horsepower, that is not your average Sierra. It can do 180 miles an hour, not here, but it can do. And Andy Rouse is going for it. Absolute precision. Feed in the power when he gets it straight. He's got the king to go through. Away. Tim Harvey gets the power down beautifully. They're closing up on a tail ender. This could change things if he gets in the way. You can see him getting closer and closer. And Rouse takes his opportunity. Look at Andy Rouse now. Can he dive through the middle? Tim Harvey, number 7, on the right. Rouse, they've both taken the tail ender. Now Lawrence Bristow is going to do the same thing. Rouse attacks. One mistake by Tim Harvey and he will be through and into the lead. And Andy Rouse built Tim Harvey's Sierra and Lawrence Bristow's car. He knows every millimetre of both of them and his own car. And don't forget, he can hardly see the track ahead. It's like following a tube of steel made of Armco. together. Lawrence Bristow biding his time. If either of them goes off, he'll benefit and go through. Now they're closing up on two tail-enders. And one of them is John Morris's Golf Volkswagen. Harvey nearly touches the Armco. Rouse almost does the same thing. Look at the speed here. Just watch them absolutely gobble up that mate. It's as though he's on the slow lane of the motorway. Now there's Morris. There's Morris in the black Volkswagen. Through goes Harvey. Through goes Bristow. Morris runs wide. Out of Halfords. This is absolutely superb motor racing at the limit, and Rouse is going for it now. He's up alongside Harvey. Bristow is still there behind, and he is certainly not having it all his own way like he did last year. And look how Tim Harvey uses all the track. He has to, and that's why it makes it so difficult to get past on this circuit. But they've got to get past Jeremy Rossiter's Vauxhall Astra. Is it going to be Rouse darting through? No. Tim Harvey right up alongside the Armco, and he nearly takes Rossiter with him, who's actually got the right indicator winking to say come through, and they both do it. Now, how much longer can Tim Harvey resist this incredible pressure from Andy Rouse when he's actually pulling away a bit there? Then he's got the experience. He's going for it again as they go through. And if Tim Harvey leaves any room anywhere, and he's doing it now, can Andy go past on the outside? No, he cannot. Because Harvey drifts right again, almost touches the Armco again, gets the power down in the right place again. But still Andy Rouse is coming back at him, and still Lawrence Bristow is right there in the background. Sierra Cosworth, Sierra Cosworth, Sierra Cosworth is the order. Harvey, Rouse, Bristow, and Harvey's nearly lost it. And that's exactly what Gravett did, and Andy Rouse takes his chance and goes through into the lead.
The manoeuvre that set up another victory for Andy Rouse in the Caliber Ford. Behind him, a battle for second between Harvey and Bristow that raged till the last lap.
That's for Odo. Now down to Halford's elbow. And Bristow comes again. Lawrence is absolutely on the edge of adhesion, but then so is Tim Harvey. And Bristow goes for it yet again. Comes right up alongside the rear wheel, the front door, almost up to the front wheel, but Harvey gets his foot down, goes through. The Astra's in front of him. Can he get past that? And there's the checkered flag. Harvey finishes in second place. Bristow finishes in third place, but Andy Rouse has won. Takes his fifth win of the season from 11 races. A typically superb drive. Calm, smooth, never a wheel wrong, and the fastest lap at over 92 miles an hour.
So Class A as fiercely contested as ever, but overall the championship was still between James Weaver and John Cleland, who were relentlessly picking up their class wins. 2 points remained the gap, and the final 2 rounds would decide the title. The first of these was at Donington. Qualifying had been wet at the Derbyshire circuit, and wet conditions can produce surprises. And it was certainly a surprise when Mike Newman stole onto the front row, albeit 2 seconds slower than poleman Rob Gravett. After a season of following the pack, Newman now needed instruction in following the pace car.
There's only one pace lap, not a green flag lap.
Directly behind Newman on the grid, Dave Brodie.
With Mad Mike Newman in front. Mad Mike Newman on the front row of the grid. We're all petrified, okay? The gentleman racer.
Donington's extra loop, the Melbourne hairpin, would be another new experience for the SO British Championship. Gravett's pole position had been his 4th of the season, the first time we'd seen Newman on the front row, and Lawrence Bristow, the leading Labatt's runner. The third row, Tim Harvey and Andy Rouse. Mechanical problems had meant that both had missed the best of the qualifying conditions. David Sears, standing in for Guy Edwards, shared the 4th row with Jerry Marnie. Further down, Frank Sittner leads the Class B qualifiers. Commentary comes from a man who tasted victory in the championship at Donington back in May, Tiffany Dell.
Out of Goddard's then, the field kept in a tight, orderly queue due to the tight hairpin, accelerating across the line, and it looks like Rob Gravett again has got the power down well, made the pole position. He's even able to move over there, takes the racing line from Mike Newman, holding his second place. Lawrence Bristow trying to go around the outside as the rest of the field storms through Redgate. On down through Craner Curbs, and Gravett already. Bristow tries the long outside route around the outside of Newman. I don't think he'll get away with that. So still third, Gravett easing away while the rest of the field now bottles up behind Mike Newman. Lawrence looking back to his teammate Tim Harvey, a good start up to fourth place. Andy Rouse behind that. Up to McLean's, and Harvey there. Harvey seeing an inside line on his teammate, moves up to third ahead of Bristow. In car now with Andy Rouse, he's got the two Labatt's twins ahead of him. Bristow trying to get that third place back, and not getting through and getting this car sideways. Well, this has given Andy a chance now to close up on Lawrence Bristow. Down the straight they go, in the slipstream. Can Rouse get by? He looks up the inside, and there we see Rouse alongside Bristow now, yes, and that's Rouse through to fourth place. The tight S's, the high curbing there, pushing that Graham Good, using a little bit of the grass. Thomas Mazera, Carl Jones diving up the inside and taking two places. Harvey looking inside Newman and goes through into the Melbourne hairpin. There's Gravett, the leader. Harvey really braked late to get past there, went very wide, and in fact he's lost the place again. Mike Newman back up the inside, accelerating out up to this tight final hairpin, the Goddard's hairpin left, a puff of smoke as Gravett locks the front wheel, and Harvey now has got to try that overtaking manoeuvre again. Down towards Redgate, Newman holds the inside line. Harvey's going to try this long outside line. It's possible at Redgate, and indeed Tim gets through. So that's a nice overtaking manoeuvre. Harvey forcing his way forward in these opening laps, and now he's going to chase after Gravett, leaving Andy Rouse to try and get past Newman. Down to the old hairpin, Rouse also sliding straight through. A neat manoeuvre, pushes Newman back another place, and Lawrence Bristow, who was at the front of this queue, now has to try and get past Newman himself, and I think he's done it. He's up the inside, yes, that should be through, but Newman comes back. There's a slight touch there, and, well, that's a great shame. Lawrence Bristow, who'd qualified so well, he's not too happy either. Up front, though, Gravett leads, Harvey second, and Rouse closed right up. So these three, the main winners so far this year, they're in for another head-to-head battle. Harvey straight away looks up the inside, and he's through. Pushes Gravett wide, the same pass as he went through Newman, and Rouse trying to get through as well as Gravett goes wide. We've got three Sierras side by side. Rouse unable to make the most of it, so it's now Harvey, Gravett, Rouse, but Sierras everywhere. Rob Gravett tried to go around the outside of Harvey. Rouse comes up the inside, and it's going to be Harvey now with a fair lead as the other two lean on each other in the background. Is it going to be Gravett? I think Gravett's got the inside line here, yes. Rouse concedes the corner, and it's now Harvey, Gravett, Rouse. Down Craner Curves, it's very fast, and a lot of braking there from Gravett. Harvey disappears in the distance, and I think Rouse was almost surprised there. He couldn't overtake at that point. Oversteering into the old hairpin, called the hairpin, but it's the fastest corner on the circuit. And up now towards McLean's, this tricky corner. You have to dab the brakes approaching the left-hand curve. Difficult braking area this. Down to third gear then for the McLean's corner. And out on their curves, Harvey trying to get away. He sees the two in the background having a dice. He's trying to make as much distance as possible, but trying to get too much of that 500 horsepower down on the track too early. So that slide costing him a bit of his lead. In the background, we see David Sears moving up well. He's got past Newman and left the pack behind. Sears substituting this weekend for Guy Edwards in the second Caliber Sierra. Back down now towards the Melbourne hairpin. Harvey in the lead, Gravett second. These three now a bit of breathing space after those frantic opening laps. And here we see the BMW battle, the traditional teammates waging warfare. In the background, Lawrence Bristow, well, he was making up ground from that earlier spin, and there Thomas Mazera took his line, and a rather over-ambitious overtaking manoeuvre by Lawrence. But the BMW boys, we see, in fact, is sitting the leading at the moment from James Weaver. Weaver, of course, the championship contender of these two, leading the championship. Weaver seeing an indicator up ahead, but I think it's going to be after this Goddard's hairpin that Frank Sittner's going to let his championship leading teammate past. Weaver, yes, sure enough, Sittner pulling to the left. James Weaver's going to be given the inside line for Redgate corner. These two teammates working well together now to try and win this championship for BMW. James, in fact, thanking Frank. So that's all through. Into the pit lane, that's Jerry Marnie, obviously in problems. Also in the pit lane, that's Thomas Mazzara in the JQF Engineering Sierra. We saw him earlier here being attacked by Lawrence Bristow in a very over-ambitious overtaking manoeuvre. Lawrence trying to make up lost ground, and maybe that's why Mazzara's in the pits. But Lawrence here, still going strong, still fighting back again. Smoke pouring off the bodywork. Obviously a bit of a dent there, which has caused the tyre to rub. Also smoking slightly is the leader, his teammate Tim Harvey. I hope there's no problems there. Again, maybe a little bit of bodywork damage has pushed the bodywork onto the tyre, but Tim's certainly not going any slower for it, and holding on ahead of Gravett and Rouse. Down the Craner curves, Harvey leads. A little bit of breathing space at the moment. That puff of smoke again, it seems to come off the rear right corner, so maybe that is a little bit of bodywork touching, but certainly not slowing him at all. And these two slightly pulling away from Rouse. At the back we see the BMWs battling away, and here we see James Weaver now got to always have the problem of a Sierra holding him up sometimes, and that's a Sierra with a problem. That's Dave Brody's Sierra, and there's a lot of puffs of smoke coming out of the back. So Brody falling backwards. He qualified well on the second row of the grid, but here we see James Weaver bouncing over the curbs. James very fast, very smooth. And he's going to have to sort out the Sierra, because often he can get held up in the corners, but the puffs of smoke, I think, indicate that he won't be long before he gets past. They're more of a problem for James, though, as he needs to get on, he needs to win his class and get fastest lap to keep his championship hopes alive. The class winners, you only score your best 11 from 13 results, and so far with the 9 races behind, James dropping his worst 2 scores, has 9 wins, 8 of them with fastest lap. His nearest rival, John Cleland, has 9 wins, all with fastest lap. So with this round and 1 more after, James can only get 2 more maximums with fastest laps, whereas this man, John Cleland, if he wins today with fastest lap and does that again at Silverstone, he'll end up with a full 11 maximum scores, all with fastest lap, and that would make John Cleland the British Touring Car Champion by 1 point. So both these drivers, they know what they have to do, and they need the support of their teammates. And, well, there we see Frank Sittner really supporting his teammate. Frank obviously worried he put in a bit of a fast lap there and actually hit the brakes to not count that lap. Here in the pits, that is Dave Brody. I'm not sure what that is they're replacing, but that obviously was the problem with the car. We saw it puffing smoke and in trouble, and Brody in the pits. Mechanics working away frantically getting back. Whilst up front the battle now is raging. Tim Harvey there over the curbs of the S's. They're right in amongst the back markers. Rob Gravett losing a bit of ground as he had to go wide around the outside. And no sign of Andy Rouse at the moment. He's dropping away slightly, so really it's these two out front battling for the lead. Gravett into the Melbourne hairpin. Harvey escaping ahead of him. A little bit of breathing space as Gravett slides into oversteer, getting the power down. There we see Andy Rouse still overtaking the back markers. And Tim Harvey driving a very, very good race out front. Obviously under pressure, but not letting Gravett get on top of him. Rouse a little bit closer perhaps, now they've all got through those back markers. So Harvey making the most of the back markers, getting well ahead. That's Dave Brody just rejoining the race as Gravett goes through. Further down the field, here this is Rob Gravett's teammate, Mike Smith, trying to get 9th place off of Carl Jones. Both these drivers had problems in practice, both very quick indeed, and here Carl Jones taking the inside, a little dab of the brakes to check they're there before braking into Redgate. Mike, no way through on this occasion, but he's right up the back of Carl Jones, sliding wide, getting the power on and sliding out. Up front though, the leaders still amongst the back markers. They both pop out in unison to overtake another man. And again, Harvey gets that slower car, slower in his class. John Morrison's Volkswagen, but Gravett going through and trying to close the gap, but all the time Harvey seems to have the edge. Ahead of him, the John Clynn's teammates, the battling Vauxhall Astras, that's Jeremy Rossiter and Louise Aitken-Walker. But Gravett now right behind Harvey. A little bit of a problem when two cars are racing ahead of each other, but he should be able to get by both of them on the power acceleration up to Melbourne hairpin. Indeed, one of them indicating to let the leaders through. So both leaders through. Gravett leaves his braking very late there, closes right up, but loses ground in the end because he had to slide so wide he braked too late. Up to Goddard's, the tight left-hand hairpin. Again, Rob Gravett really braking at that front wheel, locked up all the way in before it picked up off the ground. Rob slides the long, long way round the outside of the hairpin and Harvey escapes. Here at BMWs we see Snetterton through past Weaver. I hope James hasn't got a problem. But we didn't expect that to happen after we saw Sittler let his team leader through, but in car with James Weaver, doesn't seem to be any problems. Maybe Frank's decided he wants to turn out the lead. This is local circuit Donington. Frank also sliding wide at the hairpins, missing the apex, but often a problem with these saloon cars getting into the apex. So Frank Siegner leads the BMW team. Weaver obviously not really in any problems, he's not going to the pits, so we assume that they're all happy, whereas these two out front are really having a battle. Harvey still leads, but Gravett now closer than really we've seen for quite a time, and now really in a position to maybe have an overtaking manoeuvre down to the S's. Harvey takes the racing line. Rob Gravett doesn't have a look up the inside. Harvey obviously confident he can brake late and not allow Gravett through. Very neat through the S's there, gets the power down, accelerating up to Melbourne. Now this is where Gravett's been braking late. Maybe he'll have a go this time. Up the inside, indeed. Rob Gravett goes through, tremendously late on the brakes, but he paid the penalty. And really there was no hope of getting around the corner at that speed, so Harvey says, well, I'll just have my lead back. Thank you very much, Rob. You've got to do that again. Again, he tries it as well. Rob Gravett really very, very late on the brakes, but it's not paying dividends because he always ends up being slow out of the corners. And it's always a problem when trying to overtake. You brake late, you tend to slide wide at the corner and then not get the power down as quick as the other driver. But still, he's right in Harvey's wheel tracks. Again, the puff of smoke from the front. So Rob really fighting. This is great saloon car racing. And Harvey all the time being very good with the back markers, picking the right line, not making any mistakes. Tim driving a very professional race under this intense pressure from Rob Gravett. You can't get much closer than that. Up to McLean's. This battle pulled well away from Andy Rouse, who's now not even in sight in the background, so these two really setting a searing pace. Harvey very neat under such intense pressure. Gravett now very close. If he can get the power down now, get onto the straight behind Harvey, but no sort of black marks being left by the tyres. Another twitch at the end of the corner. And there Rob will be upset because he had the right position to try and get in the slips on the straights. He got too greedy, tried to go for too much power, the car slid out, and that means he's not close enough to outbrake at the end of the straight. Up to the Melbourne hairpin where we saw Gravett try so hard on the last lap. Again, he closes in under braking, but once more slides wide. So Rob Gravett very late on the brakes, but not getting out of the corners as quick as Tim Harvey is. Okay. Well, I think Rob needs to, he's really absolutely got his head down. The red haze there, his team are urging him on. 3 laps to go, and he's trying his hardest and maybe trying too hard. So with 3 laps to go, the order Harvey and Gravett well ahead, and Rouse, his teammate Sears following behind, and then there's a good battle for 5th between Graham Good and Sean Walker. Here indeed we see that battle, and Sean Walker taking that 5th place off Graham Good as they start what's 3 laps left of racing. A good battle for 5th place. Sean Walker probably having his best race so far this year, and taking the inside line down to Redgate to make sure Good doesn't come straight back at him. Oh, and there, that's John Morris, and a multiple roll. John looks all right, head moving with great relief in the car. The marshal's quick on the scene, but that was a very, very severe roll for John Morris in his Volkswagen Golf. He's obviously a bit winded by it, but we saw his head moving, and there we see the marshals on the scene, and yes, John getting out perfectly all right. but as the car is already rolling, as it came into camera shot, and once bouncing, that really shows, you know, how quick the cars are going. When they get it wrong and they get launched, it's a big accident. In car, this is Mike Smith, and Mike also getting a bit greedy with his horsepower, the back breaking away under power, and Mike held it very well on the grass for a short while, but back on the track, but he'll still be angry with himself. The BMWs, well, that's Frank sitting there, only a couple of laps left now, and Frank, the indicator on again. There you are, James. I've had my share of leading, but it's James Weaver heading for another class victory. Presumably the team have got it right, and also fastest lap. So the last lap for leaders, and we see now in fact that Tim has pulled away. Rob Gravett not as close as he has been when he was challenging so hard, braking so late in those hairpins. And Tim, well, he's driven a very, very good race, very professional. That puff of smoke again from the rear right corner as the car sets down through the long left-handed corner. And Tim being let by a BMW driver, moving over very neatly. And as long as there's no real disaster on this last lap, I can't see anything stopping Tim Harvey scoring a very, very impressive win with Rob Gravett and Andy Rouse both in healthy cars. No retirements from the other two top winners, the people who won most of the races, Gravett having won 4 and Rouse 5. This is going to be Tim Harvey's second win of the year, and accelerating down the straight for the last time, only the S's and a couple of hairpins to cause any problems, and Rob not late enough for one of those famous late braking lunges. So Tim Harvey up to the Melbourne hairpin. Rob Gravett really not close enough this time at all to get by, and it's a nice way to end a race, having a little bit of a breathing space. Headlights ablaze to warn any back markers that the leader is on his way. So Tim Harvey looking for the third win of the year for the Labatt's team, and it's been a very good win indeed. Out of the tight corners hairpin, Harvey wins. Rob Gravett gave his best, but it's second for him.
Harvey from Gravett, Rouse third, David Sears fourth, Sean Walker fifth, Graham Good sixth. But a long overdue victory for Tim Harvey in a race of the highest quality.
Oh, brilliant. So pleased with that. Oh, marvellous. That was the best race all year. Beats Birmingham. Fantastic.
Class A championship table, Andy Rouse's point deduction for engine irregularities reinstated under appeal, so he trails Gravett by 3, with Tim Harvey third. All went to plan in the other classes. James Weaver led home his BMW teammate Frank Sittner in Class B. In Class C, John Cleland led home his Vauxhall teammate Louise Aitken-Walker, who'd held off the challenge of Jeremy Rossiter to claim second in class. Class D, once again, Ray Arms in the Honda Civic, 10 seconds ahead of Jeff Kimber-Smith. So overall, it's still a 2-point gap between Weaver and Cleland coming to the last round at Silverstone. But with only the best 11 scores out of 13 counting, the issue is that if both win their class and take fastest lap at Silverstone, Cleland will win the title by 1 point.
As ever, it's a rolling start for the 15-lap race over Silverstone's full 2.9-mile Grand Prix circuit. And the 35 cars and drivers set off after the pace car in ideal conditions. But not John Cleland, that's Cleland at the back of the grid, and everybody's surging past him, and he seems to be having some sort of a gear selection problem. Now, even if he gets going, he's got to stay at the back, that's the rule. But he's got going. There's the Jaguar fire tender going ahead of him, and he's away. Let's see what he does. Well, he's past the Jaguar, but sensibly he is staying last. Actually, I don't think it's too much of a setback. John's Astra is so fast that it should catch all his class rivals quite easily. But we'll see. Round Copse Corner, last on the grid, John Cleland with a chance of the championship. But there's something new up front. Proudly leading round in pole position, Welshman Carl Jones from Lambton. It's his first pole position, a superb achievement against the high-budget teams. But Carl did his banzai lap on a damp track. Now it's bone dry. Maybe that'll affect his tyres. So there he is, pole position. Andy Rouse, second on the grid. Rob Gravett, the championship class leader, third. And Chris Hodgetts from Redditch, a superb fourth with a new team. Mike Smith, fifth in the sister car of Rob Gravett. Guy Edwards 6th in, he says, his last race for a while. Tim Harvey 7th, that's well down for him. And Graham Good a strong 8th. Bristow, who's Harvey's teammate, 9th position. Veteran Dave Brodie in 10th place. Sean Walker is 11th. And Blackburn's Mike Newman 12th. 12 Sierra Cosworths. James Weaver's the fastest BMW at 13th. And there, number 56, the joint championship leader, John Cleland in the Vauxhall Astra, starting last. Out of the complex. Don't forget, it is a rolling start. The pace car in front. It will peel away into the pit lane as they come out of the right-hander at Woodcote. He does so, and it's 35 Road Rockets go down to Copse Corner. Rob Gravett's leading. Jones is second on the left. Andy Rouse on the outside is in 3rd position, and Tim Harvey's up into 4th place. Now we're in car with Andy Rouse. Jones and Gravett ahead. Harvey and Smith have gone past. Now, that is Mike Smith in the red and white Sierra on the right. We're riding with Andy Rouse. We're past Mike Smith. Into the right-hander at Beckett's. Jones running very wide. Harvey's gone up into 2nd place. Guy Edwards over the curb, dropping back. That's cost him dear. Back in car with Andy Rouse. Carl Jones ahead. Now down the Hanger Straight, building to 155 miles an hour. Rob Gravett leads. Harvey second. Then together, it's Rouse, Jones, Smith and Graham Good into Stowe Corner. Rouse up into 3rd position, outside Carl Jones. So now down into Club Corner for the first time. Gravett, Harvey, Rouse. Carl Jones with the yellow covers on his headlights in 4th position. In car with Lawrence Bristow now. He is in 7th position, out of Abbey at 140 miles an hour. Graham Good ahead in 6th place, and we're closing up on him very fast indeed. Into the left, now the second part of the corner, the right-hander, and he's tapped Good, he's hit Good, spun him round. And zonk, straight into Graham Good's car goes Dave Brodie, and they are obviously both out of the race. Rob Gravett is leading. Andy Rouse is now up into 2nd place. There he goes, Tim Harvey in 3rd position in the blue Sierra. In car with Rouse now, just watch his hands on the steering wheel, on the gear lever. Second, chasing Rob Gravett. Into the left-hander at Maggots, that's about 140 miles an hour. Down to Beckett, 75 miles an hour. 4 wins to Rob Gravett, 5 wins to Andy Rouse, and Rouse needs to win this one for the Class Championship. Down the Hanger Straight now. Out of Chapel, 155 miles an hour soon. And Rouse is going for it. He's dodging about behind Gravett's car. And he's powering straight past. There is a real horsepower advantage there. So Gravett in 2nd position. Harvey is still 3rd. And Rouse has now got a clear track in front of him, and so has Dave Brodie, but for all the wrong reasons. Yet another disappointment in a very contentious season, and that's Graham Good's car being recovered. Dave Brodie, bit of whiplash it looks like. He looks fit enough, sprinting away back to the pits. Now here's a replay of Good's spin. Now watch him very carefully. He's hit by Bristow, who hits him again, that's twice, 180-degree spin, and Brodie, unsighted, goes straight into him. Poor Graham out of the race through no fault of his own. And at the complex, it's Rouse leading. Gravett 2nd, Harvey in 3rd position. Those 3 have broken away from the rest. 1st, 2nd and 3rd, they are all race winners, and the battle is on. Through the chicane, Rouse, Gravett, Harvey, down the straight, lap 3, that's the order. Rouse leading, Gravett 2nd, Harvey in 3rd position, Bristow 4th, Smith 5th, Jones 6th, Walker is 7th, and Hodgetts is in 8th position. Now there is Jones, Walker, Hodgetts, and back at the complex, championship leader John Cleland is up to 23rd out of 35. And he's leading his class. He's broken the lap record, and that will do nicely, John. There's his rival, James Weaver. He is leading Class B in the BMW M3. Hodgetts is 5th. Chris Hodgetts, number 25, has gone ahead of Mike Smith into 5th position. Smith down to 6th, Jones down to 7th. And Hodgetts in the car previously driven by Gerrit van Kouwen, the Dutchman. And Chris is really peddling it. Now the end of of another lap. No change at the front, and if Andy Rouse stays first, he will provisionally win the class championship. But there's going to be a lot of arguing before that happens. Lap 11, there's the order. Rouse, Gravett, Harvey, Bristow 4th, Hodgetts 5th, Smith 6th, Edwards in 7th position. And back at the complex, Nick May in the red bi-turbo Maserati is being engulfed. Mike Smith has already passed him. Guy Edwards and Carl Jones, and there is Jones, will be doing so soon. Hodgetts, 5th position. Smith in 6th place. Now there is May, and sure enough, Guy Edwards goes through, passes the Maserati. He will take Carl Jones with him shortly. And in car with Marnie, not making any impression on Sean Walker as he comes out of Copse Corner, onto Maggots, goes up a gear, and another. Now Beckett's down through the gearbox. And there they go, Walker and Marnie. Now, they are out of Chapel Curve, down the hanger straight, chasing Nick May. Sean Walker goes past the Maserati. Now it is Jerry Marnie's turn, right up alongside him into the racing line, and there's contact. And he's lost it. Jerry Marnie's lost it. Looks over his shoulder, straight onto the gravel trap. And that is it.
Wally! Wally!
I don't think Jerry is at all happy. And I suppose you can hardly blame him. Well, his race is well and truly over. Now let's have a look at it again. Marnie on the left, May on the right. Well, Jerry's a big bloke, and I better watch my words, but that looked like a Marnie shove to me. Anyway, whatever, they are both out of the race, Marnie and May. And now, Rob Gravett is on his way down to Hanger. He is right on the tail of Andy Rouse's car. Number 1, Andy Rouse, race leader at Stowe. They're lapping the midfield men, including, incidentally, John Dooley there, the Alfa Romeo man who is having his first drive in a Sierra, and Andy Rouse has got his hands full of more than the steering wheel. Right behind him, Rod Gravett going for it. Out of club, now up to Abbey, there's a slight climb here, up to the bridge and the complex. And Gravett is going through. Gravett is taking the lead. He has taken the lead, and there's contact. And off goes Gravett, not quite off. Andy Rouse keeps on his way. There's going to be a big argument about that too, I am sure. Rob Gravett gets away, but in the process, Tim Harvey there is right up with Gravett. So second and third are together, and Andy Rouse, the leader, has got away. The whole race transformed in a twinkling. Copse Corner. Now, Rob Gravett really has got a problem with the championship, because if Tim Harvey, who's pressuring him, look at him, if he gets by, Rob Gravett is going to have had it. Maggots. Andy Rouse is on his way to win number 6 and a new lap record. 1 minute 37.3, that is 110 miles an hour. Now, here is a replay of that controversial incident. Rouse into the complex, left. Look for Gravett on the left. There he is. He goes to the apex. There is absolutely nowhere for Andy Rouse to go, but he pushes his way through, shakes his fist, and Rob Gravett, there he is. Half a car ahead, but that is not enough, and he pays the price. Copse Corner, Andy Rouse. And there is Rob, 2.5 seconds behind him, with Harvey absolutely with the red and white car in front. But that 2.5 seconds should be enough for Andy Rouse. Now here it is at Beckett's. There is the lead car. 2.5 seconds is a big lead for Rouse, but my goodness, there is no lead for Rob Gravett. Tim Harvey's getting closer and closer all the time as they come out of Chapel Curve, down the hanger straight. Harvey is in a Rouse-prepared Sierra, and they really fly. He dummies to the left, he goes to the right and attacks Rob Gravett. He's got the car alongside Gravett, he hits him. Rob Gravett's been hit again. Harvey goes through into second place. Rob Gravett just manages to hold the car, but he is down into third position. the champion designate. It's been a great first year for Vauxhall and for the Dave Cook Racing team. There they are, and there is John's father, Bill, the team manager, as Cleland starts his last lap for his 11th win in 13 races and 12 fastest laps. An amazing achievement. Cleland on his way then. But Andy Rouse is almost home, almost a full lap ahead of Cleland into the complex. Lights blazing. This is it. Andy Rouse, appropriately number 1, wins the race and provisionally wins the class championship. Tim Harvey behind him in second place. In third position, the unfortunate Rob Gravett. Lawrence Bristow in fourth place. Chris Hodgetts fifth. And here's the fight for 6 with Guy Edwards and Mike Smith. Into the chicane. Edwards is going to take it in the blue and white car. Smith in 7th place. And John Clark loses it. And I should think the car was alarmed with that. Clark chews up the Silverstone turf over the rumble strip back onto the track to do his last lap. Meantime, almost home to win the British Touring Car Championship of 1989, John Cleland in his Vauxhall Astra 16 valve. A very potent combination indeed in their first season of touring car racing. And a very happy team too. A very happy team, a very happy combination, and an even happier John Cleland. Well done, John.
Celebration then, and controversy. The controversy in Class A. Andy Rouse named provisional winner, Rob Gravett immensely aggrieved after that coming together at Woodcote. This is Rouse's version.
We came up through Abbey there, he was quite a distance back, and then as we sort of come up to the braking point to go into the chicane there, he's right alongside me and pushed in on the inside, and then cut across the front of me, so I had nowhere to go. So I mean, I went all over the curbs and all the rubbish anyway, which was a big risk to me as far as damaging the car was concerned, and the all cutters. But I mean, I had no choice but to hit him. I mean, there's just nowhere for me to go. It was exactly the same as Sittner and Weaver earlier in the season. They did exactly the same thing. Yeah. And you know, he was a bit hasty really. If he'd just bided his time, he'd have been there with a crack at the end, you know. But really, as far from my point of view, it was his fault, you know, and it almost screwed up my race as well.
It's been a hard-fought series, a hard-fought championship. Was that incident simply typical of that?
No, it wasn't. I think it was at the end of a very good racing season. I think it's a sad note to finish on that. I don't think it's necessary to drive like that, and I don't think I will change my driving style. I believe it is a non-contact sport because it's dangerous. I mean, we're travelling at very, very fast speeds, and you know, you can hurt people like that. But then that's another story, isn't it?
The main story is that Scotland's John Cleland claims the overall SO British Championship. Vauxhall beat BMW, but was Cleland's delayed start a problem or a well-thought-out plan?
Sometimes when you rev this little Astra up, it won't select the gear properly, you get too many revs on the clock, and I think that's what I did for the first couple of chances. And then when I realised that all the BMWs were passing me, I thought it was maybe a better idea under the circumstances to just stay out of trouble. And then I had to let too many cars pass because I then couldn't rejoin in my grid position. So it seemed at the end of the day a safer thing to do. I spent all year staying out of the way of BMWs, and I figured that I was in the pack, and it was maybe better to sort of steer clear of the trouble.
There was no element of a predetermined plan.
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
You were a little bit worried about that before.
Yes, well, James Weaver's mechanics tried to lock me in the truck before the race, so I knew there was a plan afoot somewhere.
So the 1989 British Championship ends in Champagne and the appeal court. 6 months now to knock out all the dents before it all starts again in a new and even more competitive formula.
Some cars could convert to unleaded, others can't. For those that could convert but haven't, Esso introduces an alternative high-octane grade. New Super Plus unleaded, high performance, no engine adjustment, and no fuss.
tiger.